know. Okay, YouTube started. See if Dawn sees. Dawn, do you see the YouTube?
Not yet. Hold on.
Says we're live now on YouTube, so we're good.
Okay, so I've got it recording and and the YouTube's on. So just so everybody knows it's.
Hey, Forrest, is there a way to go full gallery view on the YouTube?
I don't know.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All righty.
Yes.
Hey, Dwayne.
Hey, now that I'm unmuted.
Hi. How you doing, Aaron?
I am doing great.
Good.
Other than I lost my phone today and I'm feeling a little lost.
Oh, you mean you lost?
Lost.
Oh,
I know.
my condolences.
My entire life is in that phone.
I know, that's the problem.
Did you file a police report?
Not yet.
I know a guy.
Okay. Yeah, but you're not in the office. You're at home, aren't you, Chad?
Yeah, I'm at home.
Dang, I could.
Where do you have any idea where you lost it? Grass Valley City or?
No, it was actually in Grass Valley at Safeway, and I went back and it wasn't turned in.
It's a bummer.
So
That can be
I'm
frustrating.
hoping it locks itself, though. It's supposed to lock after 10 minutes. I'm hoping it's locked so no one can get into it. That's the frightening thing.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Do we know, are we going to have live meetings our next council meeting? Do we have that planned?
We're gonna try.
I really miss them. I just feel like
it's the lack of connection.
yeah, it's been really hard. It's hard on me. I mean, I want to see my people and I want to see their faces and I want to see, I know people can't, there are people right now saying they're going to the meeting. I'm like, the meeting's not at City Hall. I'm like, what do you mean? So there's just people who they can't participate. So, or they don't have a strong enough bandwidth.
And I might quit if I have to keep reading these emails.
I know. I have thought about you, just so you know.
Thank you, Dawn. We so much appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
It's a good thing you know how to read.
Mhm.
I had a good kindergarten teacher.
That makes a world of difference. Are we ready?
Yeah, we're up and it is,
31.
I think it's time.
Do we?
We're missing Valerie.
Are we? No, there's no Valerie.
Valerie's not gonna be on this meeting tonight. She sent a text. She's had a bad migraine all day. So she didn't think she was going to be able to sit through it.
God bless her. Okay, I know it's like, well then with that said, I guess we'll get going, right?
Yes.
Okay, everyone, welcome to the regular city council meeting Wednesday, June 10th, 2020. And my name is Renette Senum, and we're going to get going here. We had no closed sessions, but what we were going to do is we're going to start right now with roll call.
Councilmember Strasser,
Here.
Councilmember Parker. Nope, sorry, Dave. David, I'm unmuting you. I am not able to unmute. Lori, can you go deal with David? I can't unmute him from my side.
If it ain't one thing, it's another. Just give a thumbs up. Can you give a thumbs up if you're?
Yeah, give a thumbs up, Dave. Yeah, okay.
You gotta put the thumb in the screen, man.
Councilmember Moberg is absent. Vice Mayor Manette.
Okay.
Here.
Mayor Senum.
Yeah, I'm here. All right, thank you so much for that. And no pledge of allegiance, no proclamations, and no presentations. We do have business from the floor, and this is public comment. Except for certain specific exceptions, the city council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. And what we will do is we will have Dawn Zadonis read off some of the public comment letters that she may have received by now, and some more might actually come in while she's doing that, while she's reading them. And this is, we do apologize for the inconvenience to the public. If there are any emails, public comments that come in later on, we will honor them and we will let them be read into the record, just to let you all know. So Dawn, do you have anything?
Yes, have several emails that were already received. And if there is public watching right now and they want to comment on something not on the agenda, they can put it in the chat on YouTube. And I will look at those after I read these emails.
And could you kindly give that YouTube channel address?
Nevada City Public Meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so our first public comment is from Michelle Montgomery, no address. I am in favor of supporting affordable housing in Nevada City. Please use my email to be counted in favor of this housing initiative. Thank you for registering my vote. The next is from Vance and Denise Salisbury at 445 Zion. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the proposed development at the corner of Ridge and Zion. I'm a retired employee of the Nevada City Post Office and a resident of Nevada City since 1979. I am generally pro-development and not a NIMBY. With that said, I do not think approval of the proposed project would be wise. Over the years, I have traversed practically every sidewalk, trail, or street in Nevada City. I regularly run, walk, and drive through the intersections of Zion, Ridge, and Searles. I cannot imagine any project working at this location beyond moderate to low occupancy, along the lines of a medical or professional office space. I would heartily support that sort of development, but the proposed purpose for this piece of property is a poor fit. Both intersections in the border of the property are complex, and it's common to encounter frustrated, confused, and unsafe drivers passing through those intersections all day long. Not only would the proposed development add to the congestion, but the entrance and exits would be constantly blocked by static traffic. It's difficult for me to imagine how anyone could enter or exit the apartments without considerable difficulty. The only possible solution I can imagine would be to purchase an easement beyond the existing neighborhood on existing neighbor on Searles Avenue, through the vacant adjacent property behind Rankin's and out onto Searles Avenue. But I doubt that is a possibility. Beyond the simple matter of congestion and that of safety, at this present time, the entire area encompassing Gold Run School at the Historical Library, Argyle and Searles, and across the freeway to Caltrans is bedlam during the times parents are dropping off or picking up their children at school, as well as rush hour. I often joke that all traffic laws and right of way are suspended in Nevada City during those times. I have literally been bumped by or dodged vehicles while in the crosswalk dozens of times. This is not hyperbole. I'm shocked there haven't been more vehicle accidents. The next is from Greg Gear at 518 Zion Street. I've lived in Nevada City for a number of years and treasure its unique qualities. It is a small and charming town, and I object to the proposal that a 57-unit apartment complex be built here. I live on Zion Street and abhor the thought that a big construction project would take place, and when completed, the increased traffic and congestion is totally unacceptable. This project, proposed project goes against the very nature of our city. I would plead that the Planning Commission not approve this project. The next is from Jim Morris. With the opening of downtown businesses, especially restaurant taking out, there is a critical need for the opening of the public restrooms. A single porta potty in Robinson Plaza is not sufficient. Almost on a daily basis, visitors and locals are asking why the restrooms are not open. The existing porta potty cannot possibly be more sanitary than the restrooms and is not adequate to meet the current and future needs with the opening of businesses downtown. Please open the restrooms for the benefit of visitors and the whole community. The increased traffic and congestion is totally unacceptable. This project.
Okay, somebody.
Can everybody mute their,
Thank you.
our city?
Everybody needs to mute.
The next one is from Alan Barlow, 546 Main Street. Whereas COVID-19 social distancing practices appear to be in our future for some time to come, including through the summer, I offer the following comments and suggestions to maintain and preserve our local restaurants and coffee houses. 1, many of these businesses have limited seating inside already, and with table distancing are unable to seat what they need to stay open. 2, the natural solution to this with the summer weather approaching is to expand outside. 3, for the next several months and into the fall, I suggest that the City Council consider and move on temporary resolutions to allow these businesses to utilize street areas for seating. 4, for Broad Street, short of closing the street, allow businesses to use adjacent curb parking areas. 5, I suggest the same for Spring Street and other streets with such businesses. 6, for the lower end of Commercial Street, please consider closing it to traffic for the foreseeable future after it is repaved, of course. 7, obviously, as is done with summer nights, First Friday art walks and Victorian Christmas, fire access and other safety requirements will need to be followed. 8, we will lose some parking, but with the current social distancing requirements, the city can accommodate only so many visitors at one time as it is. 9, I grew up in a small town similar to this one, and businesses and delivery services found creative ways to adjust to closed streets. 10, Nevada City is made up of wonderful and amazing artists and citizens. When we not only think outside the box, but throw the box out altogether, we can and do find creative ways to survive and thrive. The next is from Janie Kesselman, looks like North San Juan. I have been helping to organize the peaceful protests in Nevada City, Brunswick Basin, and Grass Valley over the last couple of weeks. I object to the Unity March that is planned for July 11th, 2020. The person organizing this event asserted with no evidence that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. This not only endangers Black people in our community, but also hurts the work that our organizing group has been doing to stand in solidarity with Black lives. On the organizer's Facebook page, it looks like the mayor is encouraging her to act as law enforcement liaison for people of color. To endorse this person as liaison to law enforcement is to support her stance that BLM is a terrorist organization. This is not true. There is a group of Black, Indigenous, and people of color meeting in our community at this time. The Unity March organizer is not participating in these meetings. I hope that as a council, you will consider how your leadership can help or harm Black people in our community. The next is from Janine Singer with, let's see, at 551 North Pine Street. I have been participating in and co-organizing the peaceful protests around Nevada City for the last couple of weeks. Sorry, I didn't have a chance to read through these ahead of time. And it looks like she repeats the same as our last speaker. Miriam Morris, as you probably know, I am volunteering downtown many hours each week. Many people engage me in conversation of concerns about Nevada City. Right now, with the current focus on police departments, people are thinking about our own police force. What I am hearing is people want police to be part of the community. They want officers who are known to everyone, and the officers know them in return. Most people I talk to have no idea who is on the police force right now. How crazy is that for a town of less than 3,000 people? I don't understand why a foot patrol is seen as an extra we can't afford. Why can't patrols park and walk around a few blocks engaging with the public instead of cruising anonymously all day. If you look at the police department's daily activity reports, you will see activity is concentrated in a few areas. Wouldn't it be preferable to regularly walk these areas, talk with people, see what's happening in a friendly, proactive way? We are a tiny little town. We should have the kind of police force that reflects that. It is the city council's job to help the police become the department we want for our town. Okay, the next is from Jared Steinman, owner of Fact Farms. Fact Farms is a local cannabis edible manufacturer and distributor. I wanted to formally write to you, the council, about my recent proposal to allow vertical integrated cannabis companies to perform deliveries. I moved to California from the state of Maryland over 8 years ago with the intent to gain further experience in the cannabis industry. I attended Oaksterdam University in Oakland, and from the education and guidance I received there, I started my own company in 2014. I was formed and at all times remained in compliance with California Proposition 215 and SB 420 as a medical cannabis collective. I have been working in this industry long enough to know a failed state industry model when I see one. By limiting licenses within the supply chain, it is clearly setting up the new legal Prop 64 industry to leave the little guy behind. By allowing the local cannabis industry to vertically integrate, we can lead the state in tax revenue and public safety. I moved my company to Nevada City back in 2016 to help build the local industry by helping change public policy. Alongside the Nevada City Cannabis Alliance and fellow small business owners, we have successfully established a professional and safe environment to operate in. It has not been easy to transition this industry. There have been many challenges with police change, tenant improvements, including ADA completion, public power shutoffs, and not to mention the tragedy of this global pandemic and nationwide protests and rioting. Small businesses have been tasked with the hard choice to pivot and adapt to today's problems or face closure. Contactless delivery or consolidation of the industry is the reality we face. Nevada City can pose to be a leader in protecting its cannabis industry by embracing progressive policies to help generate more essential jobs and generate much needed tax revenue to the city. There are many benefits to vertically integrated cannabis companies, such as having the ability to produce better, less expensive products to consumers, capturing full margins in the value chain, control of product quality, dependable supply availability, ability to deliver out of the county, generating more retail tax to the city, and investor attraction. Nevada City has a favorable cannabis tax that provides opportunity for small operations to take advantage and establish a healthy economy. By consolidating vertical operations, small businesses can benefit by combining revenues of each operation to achieve profitability and sustain a healthy industry for business owners and consumers. As an example, my operation is already producing edibles and has the ability to distribute third-party products. So by allowing the retail aspect to this model, I can better control my margins and product quality more efficiently. I am pleading with the city to give equal opportunities to the stakeholders of this industry to become successful. Our nation's drug laws have been systematically oppressive and flawed. We need a more inclusive industry with fewer barriers. We have proven to be essential businesses and generate tax revenue in times of great disparity. And when the uncertainty of a failing economy is vital, cannabis has medical value and economic value. We should embrace that. Please consider the urgency of passing a progressive ordinance allowing for vertical operations. I am available to discuss in further detail regarding operational procedures and safe industry practices anytime. All right, the next comes from Rachel Ramsey and Catherine Hickey on Wabash Avenue in Grass Valley. I am a kindergarten first grade teacher at Grass Valley Charter School. My partner, Catherine Hickey, and I have lived in Nevada County for many years, and one of our first jobs was at Camp Augusta on Lake Bureau Road. We have been helping with the Coalition for Racial Justice in Nevada County, and we follow Black, Indigenous, and people of color leadership. We have helped organize peaceful demonstrations at Brunswick, Broad Street, Bridge, and downtown Grass Valley. I was upset to hear that Mayor Senham is using her role as mayor to support Faith Woodward's Unity March on July 11th. This Unity March is deeply problematic. The Unity March is performative activism at best and a subversive move at worst. Either way, it will not lead to unity and will tear our city apart more. What is a unity march if there is no unified agenda to get behind? What there is really a call for is the maintenance of the status quo. Calling for unity without demands for restorative justice and racial equity is an empty call. The intention of which we believe is to silence dissenting voices and help subvert the momentum of the current civil rights movement. Nevada City is better than this. Faith Woodward has written, Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. This is not someone who will bring unity to our city. I do not support the Unity March happening. The Coalition for Racial Justice in Nevada County does not support this march happening. I ask that council does not support this disingenuous Unity March and that no permit is given to this event. I also ask that the mayor does not use her position to endorse this event. All right, the next is from Lindsay Bellows. My name is Lindsay. I live at 11339 Deer Creek Lane. I'm a nonprofit management consultant and avid volunteer in the community. I understand that the organizer of the Unity March is seeking the collaboration of City Council and local police. Please know that this organizer is working alone and not in cooperation with our Black, Indigenous, and community members of color. Clearly, the organizer is entitled to exercise her right of free speech. However, I am concerned that the council and police support of the march would send a discouraging message to the rest of the community. Tracy Pepper is convening a regular community call for the Nevada County BIPOC and should be consulted before the city council or its members in their official capacity sign on to this march. Is that for right now? Okay. Oh boy, I'm gonna mess up this name. Saibon Boylan. Is a teacher at Grass Valley Charter School and a homeowner in Grass Valley as a part of the Coalition for Racial Justice. Let me just look this over. And it has the same sentiment as the last email. And that's a duplicate. This one is from Vanessa Colombe, concerned citizen and founder of Free Nevada County Facebook page, formerly Reopen Nevada County. I think it is important to bring to the city's attention the actions that have been undertaken on behalf of the Nevada City Chamber of Commerce. Currently, the vice president of the Nevada City Chamber of Commerce Board, Celine Negrete, has actively been targeting and continuously attacking members of the public, businesses and their owners regarding the need to reopen in order to survive. In just the last few weeks, Celine Negrete has actively and viciously pursued and attacked in online forums, members of the public, members of Reopen Nevada County, owners of wineries, the president of the Grass Valley Chamber, a yoga studio, and a salon. Basically, any businesses that was trying to reopen safely, make an income, and put food on their family's table. I feel it's important to point out that the mission of chambers throughout the United States is to form an organization of businesses whose goal is to further the interest of businesses. Business owners in towns and cities form these local societies to advocate on behalf of the business community. How is Celine Negrete's behavior advocating for businesses? Who gave her the authority to pursue and harass local business owners? Are the city, its council members, and the chamber board aware of her hostile activity? How is it that the city of Nevada City and its chamber board think it professional and in good taste to align with this type of negative and unproductive activity? Since when does a chamber vice president think it wise to vehemently pursue and relentlessly attack businesses struggling to reopen? Was Ms. Negrete even given the authority to identify, target, and try to destroy these struggling businesses? Is this the goal of the Nevada City Chamber? Ms. Negrete has even gone as far to attempt to foil an organized event of concerned citizens in Grass Valley several weeks ago. Ms. Negrete printed out and had volunteers pass out flyers that falsely claimed that our event had been canceled. How would the chamber feel if that was done to one of their events? Who does this kind of thing and thinks it's healthy for the community and the overall well-being of highly stressed and struggling business owners? We are asking for the resignation of Celine Negrete from the chamber board and that she be replaced by somebody that does not continuously target and harass struggling business owners throughout Nevada City, Grass Valley, and the county, because the harassment has not ended. If Ms. Negrete is not willing to step down, we respectfully ask the City Council to cease all funding of the Nevada City Chamber of Commerce for allowing one of their board members and upcoming president to target business owners and members of the public. Is this how you want Nevada City and its chamber to be represented? And then we don't have any comments on,
Who was that last letter from?
I'm sorry,
Who was that last letter from?
that was from Vanessa Colomb.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm checking to see if there's any text messages, which there are not. And I think I have to check our email too to see if anything else came in. Not on this. So I believe that is all for public comment.
Sorry about that. I had the mute on. Thank you so much for doing that, Dawn. And again, usually we close public comments during this time for anything not on the agenda, but if something does come through, we will honor it. So just to let you know. Now, with that said, we do have council members requested items, committee reports, and future agenda items. So let's see, Mr. Sparky Parker, why don't we start with you?
Sure, I have no items.
All righty, Dwayne, how about you?
Nothing big. I do know that several local businesses in the middle of COVID and the racial tensions that we're dealing with, ERC has still been meeting with several small manufacturing groups here in town on a large grant that they received and helping a bunch of our businesses to not only stay open, but to move forward. So it's nice to see that the ERC has actually got some positive things happening behind the scenes that people aren't really aware of right now that are directly benefiting and helping to grow these businesses, specifically manufacturing businesses, as well as giving them the strength they need to hire more locals on in this time when a lot of people are out of work. So I want to thank the ERC for that work. And other than that, I don't have anything until after the next meeting as far as transportation or any of the other things going on.
Okay, thank you. And how about you, Aaron?
Yeah, the only thing I would like to mention is that up at the county on the weekends, they're doing the car hop, which is helping our local food trucks. And it's going to be going on till the end of July. And they've asked to have public officials come up and help. And I was there on Sunday and it was wonderful just to see the people that were coming in. It's good food. So I'm going to ask all of you, if you get a chance to volunteer, that would be great. And just letting know people, if you need something wonderful to eat, the food trucks are up at the Root Center.
I think the question I have is, can I wear my rollerblades?
Go for it. I think that would be awesome.
Okay.
So Aaron, quick question. I hadn't even heard about it, didn't know what it was, when it was happening, or how we could help. How do we get the information?
I will email you the link for the person who's taking volunteers. But they're actually asking public officials to volunteer.
Send it to me too, if you don't mind.
Great.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Okay.
Okay, with that, let's see, a couple things. One is, I have a question for the city. Are we going to be reopening the bathrooms soon, the public bathrooms?
We've been talking with Bubba about that. Dawn has, so we're going to talk about it at next Tuesday's staff meeting.
Because that is a complaint. I'm
Yeah.
getting that as a big complaint. People just, we just have one bathroom for the whole entire town, one porta potty. So.
Before you go to the consent items, Chrissy did want to jump in and say something real quick.
Okay, but before she does, let me just do a couple quick updates. So I do want to speak to, there's this Unity March happening on July 11th. I was informed about it yesterday from this young teenage woman named Faith. She talked to me for about 5 minutes. And just to let people know that the Unity March has not been approved or sanctioned or agendized. I don't think most city council members know about it. Maybe they do, and I don't know. So I think there's some information out there that's not clear. And I did make sure to respond to a lot of the folks who did email to say, hey, this is what I know, what's going on, and love to connect with you guys some more on this topic. So I do want people to know, as Chad Ellis can tell you, that as far as reports, one of the things that I've been doing is speaking with Chad, and we've been talking about, and he's been talking to Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital. He's been talking to the school districts. He's been talking to Jamal Walker, who puts together the Love Walk, other organizations to do something that has, some kind of workshop or something around reconciliation. So I'm hoping that we can do this. This would be phenomenal. So I want people to know that that is something that the city has been working on. No one's gone public with it yet because we don't have anything solidified. And then lastly, just been putting a bunch of open signs. I've been passing them around for not reopen, but was a Rebound Nevada County. And then also Kathy Whittlesey is looking to make some signs, have some nice signs professionally made, so it's not looking like my scribble, that the businesses on Commercial Street are actually open. So Commercial Street businesses are open. The street is closed during the day, but the businesses are open. We really need to support those businesses. Okay, now with that, we'll go on to Chrissy. Chrissy Hodgson, please. Okay, we need you to turn your mute off. Yeah.
Sorry. I wanted to give you guys a quick update regarding the telecommunications ordinance. As you know, the law is ever changing. Since the first reading last Monday of the telecom ordinance, Bob Ross of CME, the city's consultant, and Baron Bettenhausen both called me to discuss a recent FCC order that it's order 19-126 that Bob says will be removing municipalities' ability to require or request on-site RF analysis on or about December 2021. Baron let me know there was a bulletin, and Bob also, there was a bulletin that the FCC is publishing that'll be forthcoming, giving the city more guidance about exactly what we can do with our ordinance. So at this time, there's no required change, but I just wanted to let you know we were just made aware of that, and it's pending, but it may impact some of the provisions that we have in there now. And when we know the options, we'll bring it back to your attention, let you know if there's something that we have to change in order to comply with the new federal law. Baron did put in our telecommunications ordinance a provision that says if there's a subsequent federal law or order that makes the provision of our ordinance, inapplicable or we can't apply it, that it's severable. So we're protected legally, even if the bulletin comes out tomorrow and says that we can't have some of our provisions in there, we'll just advise, we'll do what we can, and then come back with changes to the ordinance for your consideration and approval if they're necessary. So, but we don't need to take the telecommunications ordinance off consent for the reading tonight for that reason.
Great, good to know. Thanks, Christy. Yeah, I saw that come in.
And real quick on that too, Renette, it's interesting because that was one of the topics on the public meeting back in DC that I was going to attend a month or so ago that got canceled because of COVID. And we were told that until those meetings were reconvened, that nothing would be addressed like that. And now suddenly somehow that has been pushed through somewhere by somebody without it being open and advertised to the public for us to attend. So that's interesting.
Yeah, fascinating.
And Mayor, if I can interrupt really quickly, I was so busy reading everybody else's comments that I forgot to do my own public comments. I'll be really quick. We are doing an online auction next week, and we're auctioning off vintage playground equipment that was at Pioneer Park, and we posted it on Nevada County Peeps, and people are actually posting pictures of themselves or their kids on that equipment was on the playground. So we have that, and then we got some new windows at Siemens Lodge. So we have the old wooden windows, which people love to do craft stuff with and whatnot. So watch for that auction, go to our website or our social media, and you'll get all the information there. But that auction takes place Wednesday and Thursday from noon to noon.
Thanks for the reminder, and they're absolutely adorable. They're just adorable. And so it's a great idea, Dawn. Yeah. All right, okay, so thank you. Let me get back to the agenda. All right, so now that we're on to item 3, which is consent items. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless before the City Council votes on the motion to adopt. Members of the council, city staff, or the public requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. And we have a relatively short list tonight. We have subject A, accounts payable activity report for May 2020. Subject B, second reading of the ordinance repealing and readopting chapter 17.150 of the Nevada City Municipal Code entitled Wireless Telecommunication Facilities in the City. And then we have subject C, action minutes, May 27th for the city council meeting. And finally, we have subject D, action minutes, June 1st for the city council meeting. So do we have anyone, let's see some hands up. Do we have anybody on the city council or the staff who wants to pull one of these items for discussion?
No.
No.
Okay, all no's, okay. Dawn, do you have anybody that you can see speaking up on the public who would like to pull one of these items?
Yeah, but I don't know with what Chrissy said, someone wanted to pull 3B. So I don't know if you want to still pull that and read these comments or.
Let's see. Let's pull it and read the comments.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, do we have a motion for, gosh darn it, I just lost my place. Do we have a motion for subject A, C, and D?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor, and we'll need a roll call on that.
I'll second it.
Oh, sorry, second it, sorry, and then we need a roll, thank you, Erin. And we need a roll call on that.
Councilmember Strasser,
Yes.
Councilmember Parker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Minette,
Yes.
Mayor Senum.
Yes. All right, very good. Now, so before we get to the public comments, does anyone at the city council table want to speak to this item, the wireless ordinance at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
No? All right, then we'll open up for public comment, if you don't mind, Dawn, because you love reading.
Okay, this comes from Joy Braun, Johanna Finney, and Craig Fields on behalf of the PWG. On behalf of the Nevada City Public Working Group on Telecommunications, please see our following comments and recommendations regarding the draft wireless telecommunication facilities. Ordinance discussed on June 1st. This draft ordinance is currently on the consent agenda for tonight's city council meeting. At this juncture, we are not asking this item be pulled. Sorry, I didn't read it ahead of time. They're asking it not be pulled from the consent calendar. For the record, do you want me to still go ahead and read it? So you have the information?
No,
Yeah, I already read it, but
No, I don't think so,
Okay.
Dawn. Just
All
go,
right.
so maybe we could do a revote on the consent without pulling that item.
Or why don't we just do a vote on that?
Okay, you can do that. That's fine.
Okay. All right, so do we have a motion?
Motion to approve consent item B as stated.
I'll
Second.
second.
All right, David's a second. All in favor? We need a roll call.
Was that David that did the second, or was that?
David.
Okay, Councilmember Strasser,
Yes.
Councilmember Parker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Minette,
Yes.
Mayor Senum.
Yes. All right, thank you for doing that. Okay, so now we will move on to department requested action items and update reports. Subject A, Sugarloaf Mountain Collaborative Cleanup Pilot Program to provide city council to provide staff direction. Okay.
So that's me on this one. So Madam Mayor and Council, I appreciate the opportunity. Out of the 14 months that I've been in this position, this is one of the most exciting things that I think have come up for me specifically in that time. So it's a good movement forward, I believe. So I appreciate you guys listening to it. And Mr. Dent for being on the meeting tonight and assisting us with this. I couldn't be more thankful to you. So I'm going to read it off the staff report only because it's extremely consistent, which the information that was put to the Board of Supervisors on what we're actually working with, and then we can have some discussion after that. So recently there's been increased community, neighborhood, and media attention related to homeless encampments on Sugarloaf Mountain in Nevada City, with particular concern around fire danger. Health and Human Services Agency has been partnering closely with Nevada City, Nevada County Sheriff's Office, and other partner community organizations to mitigate and address these concerns. The home team has been actively engaging in homeless individuals to build relationships, educate them on fire danger, and connect them to treatment and housing. These efforts take time, and time is a luxury that we don't have with the danger posed by encampments in this heavily wooded residential area. To address this urgent issue, HHSA will utilize one-time COVID-19 FEMA and state project room key funding to embark on a collaborative pilot program to temporarily place these individuals in a Nevada City motel, and then work aggressively with and rapidly on transition plans to connect approximately 15 individuals to treatment and housing. The strategy also envisions renting dumpsters and working with campers to clean up the existing encampments. Once campers have moved off the mountain, Nevada City, along with community organizations, will work on cleaning the debris left behind at the abandoned camps. This approach will empower the individuals on Sugarloaf and will utilize aggressive case management from the home team, acknowledging that each individual will have unique needs and paths forward. This pilot project represents close collaboration with Nevada City, the Nevada City Police Department, and community organizations. For the time being, we are standing by on widely promoting this new program while we focus on relationship building, though we will reassess communication strategy as we go further into the pilot program. So the reason for me specifically why this is so important is Sugarloaf Mountain has been at the forefront of the city and the police department's mind. It's been an issue with a ton of neighborhood complaints, and how do we actually solve this? So law enforcement wise, if we look specifically at how we handle situations historically, would be through the enforcement model. And enforcement model has kind of been put on the back burner due to some recent court decisions, specifically Boise, Idaho versus Martin. So that's really tied law enforcement's hands on how they would deal with illegal encampments. So this concept, which was brought forward by Mr. Dent with the county, was it came on extremely fast. The funding was there through the county. So collaboratively, we all met together and came up with a plan on how can we focus on Sugarloaf? How can we relocate these individuals? How can we provide them services, which will hopefully keep them from going back into an encampment type lifestyle and move forward? So like I said, it came about very quickly. There was a lot of unknowns at the onset of it, as far as would we be able to secure a hotel? Was there enough funding? Did we have enough time to get it implemented? And behavioral health also was a big part in this. So what we actually found was exciting. Everybody's ideas came together very quickly. And as of Monday, we started housing people. And we estimated about 15 campers up there. The PD, Mr. Dent himself, the home team, have been up on Sugarloaf multiple times, identifying these people and what their needs currently are. And the first day being Monday, we took 10 of them off the hill and placed them in the motel, which was a significant number that we didn't expect. So everybody was really happy with that. And then as of yesterday, I believe there was 2 more individuals that came along to join the program. So it's exciting. It is outside the box. It's not something we've really done before, which is why this is a pilot program for us, but I'm excited about it. Some of the onset with the PD's involvement and the city's involvement with Katrina was location. These are our homeless people. They are homeless people that live in the city limits of Nevada City. So placing them in their city where they are was kind of important. It was between the Nevada City Motel on Zion Street and the Northern Queen. And it was my recommendation at that time, due to the close residential areas of the Nevada City Motel, to secure the Northern Queen. I think it was a better option. There's not a lot of residential houses right in close proximity to that, and would be easier for the PD to kind of handle close patrols in that area and maintain it. So that's the PD side. I'm excited. We've been having multiple meetings every week on it. We had one today with an update. Tomorrow's a big day where there's another big meeting with the individuals out there for the process and looking forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Dent if you have anything to add.
Morning, Madam Mayor, or good evening. I'm used to morning sessions. Thank you. Thanks for having me back again. And thanks, Chief. Yeah, this is to set expectations. This is a pilot project. We don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. We don't know if the campers will stay in the hotel rooms. We have had the last 2 days, some great engagement by all of them on their case plans with the home team. I also want to call out, it's just not the city and the county working together. We have Hospitality House providing meals. We have Sierra Roots supporting case planning overnight. So there is somebody at the hotel basically 24/7 working with the campers. We're treating the campers up on Sugarloaf as a community. There is hierarchy up there. There are leaders, there are newbies, and there is this pecking order in any society that we live in. We're animals and we run in packs. And so there is a group dynamic there that we're really respecting, instead of pulling individuals off the mountain and working with them individually. We're saying, look, guys, come with us. We ask that you have some basic, behavioral expectations while you're down in the hotel rooms, that you pick 3 things that you want to change in your life, with one of them being housing in the next month. And let's take a whatever it takes attitude to get you where you want to be. And so we're really excited about this. Couldn't do it without the support of law enforcement. You may be wondering why the urgency. This funding that we have is surplus funding that was going to revert back to the state at the end of the month. So that's why we wanted to kick this off and get it going as quickly as possible. We will be bleeding over into July with this pilot, and we'll be able to secure some other funding sources to keep this going for our 30 days. We're looking forward to it and appreciate everybody's support in this.
Right. And what I'd like to add also is we've been working closely with the neighborhood and the residents surrounding Sugarloaf, and there's been a lot of support coming from them. I think on the city side, relocating and housing them, and then what we've done with the program is considering trash or treasure. So for the individuals camping up there, what is a treasure item to you? What is something that you need to take? And we're facilitating them by getting that stuff off of Sugarloaf Mountain. And if there's not the ability to store it in the hotel itself or the motel, we do have a Connex box that we use for the warming shelter. And at this point, we can use that as an overflow storage. So once we do that, we verify that all the treasures have been taken off of Sugarloaf Mountain. It gives us the ability as the PD and as the city to go up there and remove all the rest. All the rest of it will be abandoned garbage. So we can go up there and we can clean it up. And my personal hope, and I think the fire department would be right on line with this, is to potentially cut a fire break into a portion of Sugarloaf Mountain. So all of those things kind of have to happen consecutively and quickly while everybody's relocated off the mountain. So I would imagine in the next week, there would probably be a pretty significant cleanup up there to get things rolling. I also think it's important to continuously move forward, as we don't want additional campers to move into the area and fill those vacant campsites, which is a concern. So we're trying to move as fast as we can with what resources we have available.
So the ETA for the fire clearing is in about a week, or for the camps, the cleaning camps in a week?
So the camps would be first to clean that up. So we've been working with CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE may have the ability to come out and help us at no cost. We're still working on that to cut in a fire break. In walking the trails on Sugarloaf, there is an issue with us getting back there. One being fire personnel to fight a fire, or law enforcement should there be a need in the future with the trails and getting somebody out. So I do believe that that's necessary to do. One thing that I don't know yet is exactly how we go about that, if there's an environmental impact that needs to be dealt with prior to, or if fire danger itself would give us the ability to move forward because it's a public safety issue. So those are some things, and I said it's rapidly evolving, but it's on my plate to figure that out and the best way to do that. But it looks like we can get the Washington Ridge crew to help out a bit. Looks like we could potentially get CAL FIRE to come out and help us to do cutting in of some fire breaks.
Awesome. Okay, so before we take public comment, let's see if you have any comments. Aaron, we'll start with you. You have any comments?
I think this is great. I'm excited about this. Thank you all.
How about you, Dwayne?
Yeah, I think this is also maybe a momentum maker. We need to move forward quickly with Bayview Land Trust while we have the chances to get past the last couple of hurdles on the trail, because we do know long term the trail systems have worked before, public trails, in minimizing the encampments when we have public using a property and actively going in and out of a property. It minimizes that. So I think that's another piece of the puzzle. We need to work with Dawn and Amy and everybody on and Bayview Land Trust and get over those last hurdles and get the trail project moving forward also. But this is critical. And Mike, thank you guys so much. Chad, this is crazy after all these years of spinning our wheels, how quickly this has happened by simply looking outside of the box and taking a different direction and using a different model. So thank you guys for being creative.
How about you, David?
Well, Sugarloaf has been a major problem for some time. I'm excited about the initial attempt here to correct it and move forward. It's also, I feel this, if you look at what's happening nationwide and stuff, is that we need to pause and take a time to look at how we do resources and how we spend our money. And it's not always in the hands of law enforcement. And I like this partnership. I think that's the beginning of an attitude that I think will prevail in the outcome of a many project, social issues that we're dealing with. So I encourage this completely.
Right. So my question is then, as far as like returning campers, do we have any ideas on how to prevent that?
I think it's going to be with obviously going in and cleaning up the camps that currently exist. And then, like Dwayne said, maybe getting the trail system in. That has historically shown a little prevention in getting people there. I do think some undercutting or mastication of some of the manzanita in there would also help us, which is going to have to be, working with Bear Yuba Land Trust on that. But it is heavily wooded in a lot of areas. And I think not only is it a fire danger, but it prevents a lot of shelter and concealment for campers to go back in. So we do need to look at that as well. But right now we're hoping that with the momentum that we have going forward, we can get in there, we can get the people that were on Sugarloaf housed. It's been the same people, and Home Team's been out there with us probably for the last year, and it's been the same people up there. So they've been continuously working with these people, getting their ideas, getting their buy-in, creating those relationships to get them to come move off the mountain and to accept those services. Because without that relationship, you couldn't go up there not knowing these people and say, hey, how about you come with me? We have a hotel. They just wouldn't do it. So It's been a lot of work on the front end. And it just, with the funding and with all of Mike's help and all of the partners that have come in on this, it's just snowballed in our favor. And I think that we need to keep moving forward with it. Campers may go back. We don't know. It's a pilot program. So people who are housed right now, they may give it a couple weeks and say, no, this isn't for me. We're hoping that's not the case, and that we're able to use the case management. We're able to use the services that we can provide them, and social services and health and human services and behavioral health, to get them on a better path to want housing, and look at how we're going to do that for the future.
So the hotels are just for the interim, and they were trying to find additional housing.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Hotels at the onset, I believe we all figured 4 weeks was the funding we had for the bodies that we had that we needed to house. So.
Okay. Yes. Is that you, Aaron?
Go ahead.
I do believe, though, I see Polly Halstead send something today at 2:22 regarding this item. So I just want to make sure that we're going to speak to that, Dawn, once we get to that. She was talking about that. But Aaron, why don't you go right now before we open up to public comment?
Yeah, I think this is great. I'm just concerned, after 4 weeks, do they head back to the mountain?
Yeah, and to be honest, that's an unknown. I mean, even if we can capture half of them and get them help, then we've made a difference. So it's an unknown.
I actually just want to thank Waste Management too. They just popped in, and Shavati said they're willing to supply dumpsters for this, what they call great project. So
Awesome.
thank you, management, for that offer.
Fabulous. Awesome. Okay, well, for right now, then why don't we go to public comment? Dawn, I know we have Polly Halstead. Do we have anybody else?
We have a lot. So the first one's from Lucy Swan, and she lives on North Bloomfield Road, and her property abuts and shares a significant boundary with the city-owned Sugarloaf Mountain open space. In the past year, we have experienced escalating issues with the longtime homeless transient population who occupy a series of encampments amid the city-owned hiking trails directly behind our home. I have personally found used and bloody hypodermic needles, rotting food, massive amounts of trash, broken glass, a burned out vehicle, and I have stepped on human feces on multiple occasions while hiking there. Fires in the camps are a regular and terrifying occurrence, and with fire season looming, our concern about one of these poorly contained campfires becoming out of control amid the manzanitas is growing. Both my husband and I have been threatened by territorial residents of the encampments, as well as being rushed or threatened by the aggressive dogs who wandered onto our property. Regularly find garbage, soiled sleeping bags, and other refuse left by trespassing transient campers on our land. The residents of this area deserve to feel safe, enjoying the beautiful public space that we're lucky enough to have access to, and moreover, to feel safe on our own properties. The houseless residents of our city and county also deserve better. Nobody should live in this dangerous squalor that they currently are in on Sugarloaf. I thank you for your attention to this matter and look forward to a prompt solution. This is from Linda Sutter. She lives on Drummond Street in Nevada City. I own the commercial property, which is presently leased by Tahoe National Forest as their headquarters. This property is also within the city limits, located at 631 Coyote Street. It is a 3.4 acre parcel cradling a 32,000 square foot building and 125 parking spaces. It sits on the corner of Highway 49 and Coyote Street. It is a short hike up to Sugarloaf from the Forest Service headquarters. The Forest Service employs approximately 225 people. Within the next few years, our mutually beneficial 30-year lease agreement with the Forest Service will come to an end. We are in the beginning stages of negotiating a new lease. This is the time when the Forest Service will weigh all of its options and will evaluate the pros and cons of remaining in its present location. In the last 6 months, the Forest Service has experienced break-ins and burglaries in which they have lost thousands of dollars worth of equipment. They have complained often of nonstop drumming coming from the encampments. Piles of trash continue to be left on and around the property. We have been forced to install extra locks and security systems on and around the property, as well as cameras. The public bathroom have had to be locked down due to destruction. Fire danger is a continual worry. Needless to say, all of the above mentioned considerations come into play as the Forest Service contemplates where it wishes to be located for the next 25 years. If we as a community cannot provide them with a comfortable, secure base in which to operate, they could decide to relocate to a quieter, safer area. The Forest Service employees are a vital part of Nevada City's economic community. I don't wish to contemplate how devastating it would be for our small town if they decide to relocate. It is vital that we find a way to nurture, support, and protect these people who work within our community. It is in our best interest to do so, and it is the right thing to do. We must address the fire danger, environmental degradation, noise issues, and criminal activity which continues to grow in the Sugarloaf open space. This is from Stefan Snell, and he resides on Pinecone Circle. When the proposed trail was initially broached, I lived in downtown Nevada City, serving as a planning commissioner. During the regular meetings and the special meeting held to discuss the trail, the highest priority was set to hold confidence and respect the privacy and security of the neighbors affected by the trail's impact via regular hikers and the complicated issues of homelessness and an encroached upon wildlife corridor rich with precious wild animals. I have been thoroughly disappointed with how the Land Trust has dealt with cutting the trail so close to housing and not holding themselves accountable to the agreement we made, the city, Land Trust, and the Sugarloaf neighborhood. I would urge the council to readdress this issue, and listen to the people who live up there and who have been willing to oblige the county and visitors to enjoy that beautiful space. This is from Randy Pertini, lives on Elliott Way. I want to thank the City Council and NCPD for bringing the issue of illegal homeless encampments and the associated risk of fire, crime, and environmental destruction before this forum. I have lived on this property since 1997. While I am less directly affected by the illegal homeless encampments and their associated risks than my neighbors whose properties lie adjacent to them, I am nevertheless concerned for all of us in this area, especially about the likely chance that one of these campers are going to start a catastrophic wildfire, whether by a cook stove, a campfire, making illegal drugs, smoking, or whatever other options there are for a fire to start. The fumes of burning whatever, making drugs, burning garbage, etc., is a huge health concern, not to mention the sanitation issues created by the illegal campers on the mountain. I have approached Officer Brandon Corchero about creating a neighborhood watch group. We talked about the neighbors meeting with him to discuss the possibility of the details of setting up a group and what it may do for us. We must work together to create solutions. I would like to see the following immediately addressed: the illegal camps, fire abatement, and rerouting the trail as my neighbors and I have proposed and shown to be feasible. Thank you for prioritizing this issue. Thank you for taking the time to read and address my and all my neighbors' concerns. The next is from Justin Sternberg. He resides outside city limits on Elliott Way. I live on the west side of Sugarloaf Mountain, adjacent to the city's property. I want to thank the City Council and NCPD for bringing the issue of illegal homeless encampments and the associated risks of fire, crime, and environmental destruction before this forum. Going back to 2016, my neighbors and I have been involved as stakeholders in the city's public planning for the Sugarloaf open space. Early in that process, we identified the issues of fire abatement and illegal homeless camps as areas of concern. In 2016, my house was burglarized twice by homeless individuals. Later, our neighborhood raised concerns about the trail route proposed by the Land Trust. Due to the route's immediate proximity to our houses and the loss of privacy and security due to the ingress-egress it created. Further, the proposed route placed the trail within the prolific wildlife corridor along the western border of the city's property that is frequented by mountain lions, bears, coyotes, and is home to breeding pairs of foxes and lynx. In Planning Commission meetings, we showed that an alternate route further to the east was feasible and met the city's trail building requirements while being preferable for reasons including better views, more shade, and existing human footprint on that area of the property and better access from Coyote Street in the event of an emergency. During the process, the Planning Commission repeatedly instructed the Land Trust trail building team to work with the neighbors. However, despite written and verbal agreements to that effect, they proceeded to cut in a trail that came within a few feet of our property lines that created a path from the largest homeless camps directly to our backyards. Only afterwards did city officials, the neighbors, and Land Trust management learn that the neighbors had not been included in the process or informed that this work was being done. During the COVID outbreak, the impact of the homeless encampments grew significantly. Our neighborhood went from a relatively quiet place to one filled with smoke from bonfires or burning plastic, screaming voices throughout the day and night, trespassing, and meth production and use. 2 cars were set aflame on city property off of Coyote Street, and the smell of burning chemicals repeatedly wafted through my property. I watched firsthand as the trash and environmental destruction grew exponentially with each passing week as the homeless used the recently cut trail to encroach further onto the park and onto our private property. The Land Trust trail builders left all the manzanita they cut on site, which the homeless began using for firewood. Despite repeated and ongoing calls to law enforcement and the fire department, the situation grew worse and worse. It's been a long time getting to this point, but we can no longer ignore the situation on Sugarloaf. The risk of a catastrophic fire, as well as the proliferation of a criminal element that refuses treatment or services, must be addressed as soon as possible. I've sent the mayor and chief of police a list of proposed action items. Some of these action items, such as noise ordinance on Sugarloaf, can be accomplished in the near term, while others, like a functional engagement with county leaders and the sheriff's office, will require a strategic approach over the coming months and years. We must work together to create solutions. I suggest that we start by addressing the illegal camps, fire abatement, and rerouting the trail as my neighbors and I have proposed and shown to be feasible. Thank you for prioritizing this issue. The next is from Lori Oberholzer, Friends of Sugarloaf, and lives on Nevada Street. I am writing as a representative of Friends of Sugarloaf. We are so proud that the city owns this wonderful property. We worked hard to help make that happen. It is critical that we figure out a way to house the homeless who prefer camping situations so that they do not camp on Sugarloaf, and also to immediately address the ongoing safety problems due to their use of the mountain. We support Justin Sternberg's proposal and the move to get going on this issue. Pamela Meek lives on Nevada Street. I am writing on behalf of the Nevada Street Willow Valley Area Neighborhood Association. We wish to lend our voices and support regarding the unfavorable conditions being experienced by residents in the area of Sugarloaf Mountain, as well as our concern for issues of wildfire prevention and wildlife preservation. Justin Sternberg, as a longtime resident of Nevada City, has not only voiced his concerns, but is offering a reasonable solution and willingness to work with law enforcement and the city. Please respect and join his offers. Eileen Jorgensen on Indian Flat Road. I was first alerted to the problems we have on Sugarloaf through the police blotter. Justin Sternberg then gave an impressive overview of the dire situation there, followed by a video taken from his porch on a Sunday afternoon. It showed a fire in process with thick manzanita near Justin's home. I then took the hike with the neighbors to see firsthand the situation. I am concerned. Not only does the police blotter continue to report incidents there, the terrain is harsh and a serious fire trap. I have always supported the cities expanding their open space to include this landmark that is the backdrop of our beautiful historic town. Now we must develop it into a park that is enjoyed as on the 7 hills around Nevada City. I thank you for addressing issues here, and I'm hoping that the city invites representation from the neighborhood association to meet regularly with the city on matters of concern at the open spaces within our Cement Hill neighborhood. Does the Park and Rec Committee still meet? I also ask that you accept the neighbors' alternative trail up through the property. Thank you for your leadership. The next is from Polly Halstead on South Pine Street. I was up on Sugarloaf Mountain a couple of months ago and was appalled at the environmental degradation that has been allowed to happen. The trash from homeless camps is beyond disaster. Also, it is very upsetting to see all the manzanita just cut and left. Why not just leave the mountain alone as a wildlife habitat? I am very concerned about the fire danger, with reports of homeless campfires and meth cooking. With all the dead manzanita to add fuel to the fire, Nevada City is headed for a disaster. Whose responsibility is it to maintain the mountain so it is safe for the homeowners up there and the rest of the community in town? Is this the way we take care of our environment? I hope not. The only way to get the homeless camps cleared once and for all is to create a safe place where they can camp. The Continuum of Care Shelter Committee is working on such a plan and will be giving a presentation on how this would work on June 18th at the Continuum of Care meeting by Zoom. If the community is interested in a real solution, please attend. It's really past time we end illegal camps in the county once and for all. The next is from Mike and Barbara Getz. We join our neighbors on Elliott Way, urging you to take action now so that the situation on Sugarloaf does not blow up into a major catastrophe. Right now, there are homeless camps throughout the areas downhill from the summit. There is significant danger that the people living there could accidentally start a fire. These camps are located in manzanita thickets, often without any clearance for cooking and warming fires. A small fire could become a serious fire very quickly. We also would ask the city to immediately address the intrusive, continuous daily drumming, which we can hear from our home. There isn't any sanitation for the Sugarloaf encampments, and coupled with the ever-increasing piles of trash there is a real threat to the environment. We support the many suggestions made by Justin Sternberg regarding the homeless issues on Sugarloaf. We realize that the homeless encampments on Sugarloaf is a complex issue, but it must be addressed, and our community is willing to participate in finding solutions. We do need Nevada City and Nevada County to take the lead on this issue. The next is from Greg Chapman. I am writing this letter as a resident of Main Street in downtown Nevada City and someone who is extremely concerned with the dangers posed by the continuing use of Sugarloaf Mountain as a homeless encampment. As we enter yet another fire season, we cannot risk having a fire started in an area that would jeopardize our entire town and community. The consequences of a fire on this parcel of land could be devastating in terms of life, property, and economics. I urge the City Council to address this looming issue with solutions that can be enacted quickly. I also urge the City Council to consider adopting Justin Sternberg's proposed solutions, as they represent ideas that are important to the residents around Sugarloaf and that are entirely relevant and appropriate for the entire Nevada City community. Terry Anderson on Main Street. I understand that Justin Sternberg is looking at practical solutions to the ongoing homeless problem on Sugarloaf and the surrounding area. As a representative of the Greater Maine, East Broad, Coyote Street area, we would welcome a serious cooperative conversation among city and county officials to address this pressing issue. My greatest hope is that you will make it a priority, even through policy initiatives, to give our police officers the tools they actually need to effectively make a positive impact on our neighborhood. The next is from Billy at Taking Back Nevada County. Saw the article in the Union today regarding Sugarloaf Mountain. We are so happy to hear of the efforts to help get those individuals help. Please express our group's heartfelt thanks to all who are involved in resolving the issues. The next is from Uli Pollin, president of the Greater Champion Neighborhood Association, lives on West Airport Road. The Greater Cement Hill Neighborhood Association represents more than 200 members who are owners and residents of our neighborhood with over 400 parcels north of downtown Nevada City. Our boundaries include Sugarloaf Mountain, the Old Airport, Airport Road, and Hirschman's Pond, all Nevada City properties. Regarding the plans for developing Sugarloaf Mountain, we would like the City Council of Nevada City to consider our following statement. The Neighborhood Association supports the position of our neighbor and member, Justin Sternberg, towards reducing the hazards presented by the homeless population at Sugarloaf Mountain in regards to crime and wildfire. Some of our members took a hike along the route of the proposed trail. After what we experienced, we wonder if a trail on the lower part of Sugarloaf Mountain is an attractive and wise choice at all. Rather, the area might be secured from unwanted activities and only the upper part of Sugarloaf developed for recreation. If a trail is built on the lower part of the mountain, it should take the route proposed by the direct neighbors and Mr. Sternberg away from the property boundaries. Fire mitigation should always be part of developing city properties located outside of downtown Sugarloaf, the Old Airport, Airport Road, Hirschman's Pond, and city property located on other neighborhoods. Champion Mines should all be part of a comprehensive open space fire mitigation plan. See our recent neighborhood letter in support of the Sierra Fund. The Neighborhood Association respectfully requests that the City Council take immediate steps to address these public safety concerns. And then I would just add, let's see, I don't think I have any other public comment. Let me just double check.
Dawn, you're a rock star.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's all. And then I would just add, as the Parks and Recreation Manager, that, yeah, it's really frustrating that a judge in Idaho can make a decision that has affected us so negatively. And so it'd be nice to figure out a way to do some enforcement, but I think the plan that's in place is great if it works and if it holds and if it's long-term. And then I would also just add that the trail is not part of what you guys are, I guess, I don't know if you're making a vote or a decision or anything, but that we will come back to you with that the Land Trust is working on a realignment, you know, to address the neighbors' concerns.
Okay, so I guess I do have a question. So Justin's list was a very, very good informative list, lots of creative ideas. He has everything like creating additional ordinances, sanitation violations, no parking dusk to dawn on Coyote, no burning, a noise ordinance. We talked about the different trail, diverting the trail from away from the property owners. Signs to staying designated trails, educational signs about the ecological diversity, regular patrols, working and meeting with neighborhood associations, and maybe even using Nevada City Rec impact fees for some police support, and also doing a GPS mapping of a grid so you can really know. So my question is, I think a lot of these are great ideas, and I think that they can be done in conjunction with what you and the county Chad are working on right now. So is there anything in the works to do some kind of public workshop with the neighbors and prioritize some of these ideas, these concepts that Mr. Sternberg has presented?
Yeah, so all the neighbors, as you see, there's a lot of support for getting stuff going on Sugarloaf Mountain, and Justin has been instrumental in getting everybody together and working on that. I talked to him at length last night. We're going to talk again on Friday about the progress that we currently have with this program, the pilot program, and how it's going. And I think at the heels of that, there will be continued workshops with the residents there on, you know, what exactly we need to do as a city to help mitigate some of those issues that he brings up in his letter. So he's a great guy. He's very intelligent. He's very willing to help. He's got great ideas, and he's been in close contact, I think, with Mr. Den as well. So hopefully we can help him out.
Okay, well, unless we have any other comments from this, well, I guess we have any other remaining comments at all from the city council or staff?
I really want to thank Mr. Dent and all the partners that have come together for this, because it's been like wildfire, and everybody's moving in the right direction, and it's been extremely smooth so far. And we as a city, I don't believe, could pull it off without them as far as funding and things of that nature. So without his help specifically and kind of being on the forefront of this and coming to us with some of his ideas, this would not be happening. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'm one of many, and it is a community effort. You know, this is a problem. There's no boundaries to homelessness, so we all have to work together, and I appreciate your comments.
Awesome. Well, great. It's great timing, great effort, and I'm so glad to see this moving forward. Thank you guys so very, very much.
Yep.
Yeah, and I hope to have a lot of volunteers up on that hill, by the way. Between that and the car hop, we're going to be busy. So, thank you so much again. And thank you, Mr. Dent. Really do appreciate it greatly.
Thank you.
All right. And then with that, let's go next to under new business, or excuse me, I take that back. We are actually with subject B, which is monthly update on City Council 6-month strategic objectives.
Okay, we haven't been real good about going over these, but I would say that our strategic plan kind of went on hold when COVID hit. So I did want to go through and do a little bit of an update. On February 10th, the City Council, Planning Commission, and executive staff held a planning retreat in City Hall, facilitated by Marilyn Snyder. The focus of the retreat included the review of our 3-year goals for the organization and identification of 6-month objectives. We have 4 goals at this point in time: improve citywide infrastructure with emphasis on increased parking, improve citywide technology, improve and manage fiscal stability and sustainability, improve safety and security of the city residents and visitors. We did have enhanced long-term planning documents, but that goal was removed at the last planning retreat. The attendees then reviewed the above mentioned goals, and we developed 19 specific 6-month strategic objectives, and they are outlined in the grid. Specific performance measures and a follow-up process to ensure progress is monitored. So this is a follow-up process. Did everybody get a chance to go through and look at the comments in the grid?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm not going to go through them, but obviously there's a large chunk of these that are going to have to go on hold just based on funding availability, especially the technology stuff. You know, I think that a lot of these, when we go into our next planning session, they're going to have to get rolled forward, and they may be more longer term goals, some of them. But if you don't have any specific questions on anything that I updated, then that's all I have on this item.
Okay, so I'll ask Aaron, do you have any specific questions on this?
Nope.
Okay, how about you, Dwayne?
Nope, makes sense.
David?
No, I don't.
Okay, do we have any public comments, Dawn, on this?
No, no public comment on this.
Okay. All righty. Yeah, it's totally understandable. We're just adjusting as we can accordingly to the changes coming at us. So thanks for that report. And now we'll move on to public hearings, which is subject A, proposed fiscal year 2019-2020 year-end budget amendments.
The proposed year-end amendments were reviewed at the budget workshop held on May 20th, 2020. The proposed amendments recommended at the workshop included the general fund measure C, measure S, the water and wastewater funds. There have not been any changes made to the proposed amendments. So I'm going to just go through real quickly what some of those amendments are. The fiscal year 1920 adopted general fund revenue budget is 4.837 million. Based on actual revenues received, an increase to the general fund of 17,000 is suggested. So the amended budget would be 4.854 million. The general fund expenditures were budgeted at 4.835 million. Based on actual expenditures that have occurred, an increase to the general fund of 87,000 is recommended, making the amended budget 4.922 million. So the original budget, very thin for the general fund, was revenues over expenditures of $1,000. With the amendments being made, the budget will be expenditures over revenues of $68,000. Before we go to the other funds, when I realized after I put the resolution together, so I want to add language to the recommendation of the adoption of the resolution to include for the year end that we use restricted funds to balance the budget from the workers' comp bucket of committed money that we talked about at the workshop. Are there any questions on that? Okay. The measure C 1920 budget is 457,000 based on actual revenues received. An increase to measure C of 5,000 is suggested, making the amended budget 462,000. The fiscal year 1920 adopted measure C expenditures were 483 based on actual expenditures that have occurred. An increase to measure C of 55,000 is recommended. The amended budget will be 537,000. So originally, there were expenditures over revenues adopted of 25,000 in measure C. With the budget revisions for 1920, the amended expenditures over revenues will be 75,000. There is a fund balance in the measure C since the inception of that fund, where all expenditures or all money was not spent. So there is fund equity to use for that negative proposed negative year-end balance. For Measure S, the original revenue budget was 923. The proposed increase is 5,000, and that would make the year end of 918,000. Expenditures.
Did Katrina only freeze on my end?
She did
No.
freeze on mine too.
Mine too.
Yeah, I lost her.
Katrina, we lost you. I don't know if she knows that we lost her. She's coming back in a moment, folks. Sorry about the interruption.
Motion to approve.
Now's our chance. Okay, so Katrina knows she's frozen now. I think she's got.
I know, I'm
Katrina's getting back on. She got kicked off for some reason. She's signing back in. So just give her a minute.
sorry about that.
Not your fault.
I got kicked off. I'm not exactly sure why. So where I was at the water, was I at the water fund? I'm sorry. I was at the water fund.
Yes.
So the revenues were originally budgeted at 879,000. Based on what we've collected, we're going to keep that the same. Expenditures were at 876,000. Actual expenditures that have occurred, we need to do an increase of 42,000. So that would make the amended fiscal year expenditures 1.02 million for the water fund. That then would leave the water fund in a negative net position of expenditures over revenues of 138,000. That we're going to need to monitor. Again, there is fund equity, or there are operational dollars available to use, but we don't want to go down that road for very long, because the water fund was the real weak fund for a long time, and we've been able to build that equity up in that fund. So we don't want to go too many more rounds where we're having to eat into that money, or we're going to go back into that negative operational position with the equity in that fund. The wastewater fund is the revenues are 1.4 million. Based on collections, we're going to need to do a decrease of 15,000. So that'll leave the revenue budget at 1.38 million. Expenditures are at 1.66 million based on actual expenditures. We need to do an increase to the wastewater fund of 35,000. That would put the amended budget at 1.67 million. The original adopted budget, we did adopt an expenditure over revenue budget of negative 265. With those changes, it'll be negative 315. Again, we do have about 1.7 million, I believe, in fund equity that we can use. But again, the wastewater fund definitely needs to be addressed, because we're 6 years now in a row, and especially when we go and we look at the 2021 budget, we've had 6 years of negative operational budgets for the wastewater fund, and it's primarily associated to both water and wastewater is primarily associated to needed infrastructure improvements and deferred maintenance. The biggest things being the water collection, or the water distribution system, and the sewer collection. So if there are no questions.
All right. Dwayne, do you have any questions?
No questions. I'll wait until after the public.
Okay, Aaron.
No questions.
David.
No questions.
Okay, Dawn, do we have anyone from the public?
I just need to check the email, but I don't think so. No, we're good.
Okay, All right, anything else you want to add to that, Katrina?
No, I think that's it. Just with the recommendation, if we could include that use of committed workers' comp funds for balancing the general fund, that would be great.
Okay. So do we want to have someone give a motion then, including the committed worker comp funds?
Sure. Motion to approve Resolution 2020 next in order, resolution of the City Council of Nevada City adopting year-end amendments to the fiscal year 2019-20 budget with changes in the wording.
I'll second that.
Yeah, is that good enough, Katrina?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, second by Aaron. All right, we do a roll call for all in favor.
Councilmember Strasser,
Yes.
Councilmember Parker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Minette,
Yes.
Mayor Senum.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, and now with that, under public hearings, subject B, we have establishing appropriations limit for the fiscal year 2020-21.
All right, good evening. I am just going to go through it really quick. Background discussion: in November 1979, the voters of California passed Proposition 4, which specified that government operations may increase annually by a factor comprised of the change in population combined with either the consumer price index or the change in per capita cost of living. Proposition was intended to provide citizen control of government spending and taxation. The adoption of the appropriation limits, GAN, is an annual requirement. The appropriations limit applicable to the city pursuant to Article 13B of the California State Constitution shall be $5,185,654.85. The appropriations limit consists of the prior year's limit adjusted by a population factor and inflationary factor provided annually by the Department of Finance. Revenue sources subject to the limit include tax and intergovernmental revenues. For fiscal year 1920, the city is using the population percentage change of negative 0.63%. And the change in per capita cost of living 3.73% for the calculation. That's all I got. Any questions?
No.
No.
I didn't think so.
I know, right? Those were my fun agenda items. Okay, do we by any wild chance have any comments from the public? Dawn?
No, no comments on this one.
Not surprised. Okay, back to the city council. Any other comments, questions, you guys?
No.
Lori summed it all up.
Yeah.
Okay, good job. So so then that means we do have to have a motion for the resolution 2020 next in order.
Motion to approve Resolution 2020 next in order, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City establishing the city's appropriations limit for the fiscal year 2020-2021.
Second.
Was that David? Okay, David gave a second. All right, roll call for ayes.
Councilmember Strasser,
Yes.
Councilmember Parker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Minette,
Yes.
Mayor Senum.
All right, thanks, Lori, for that. Smashing job. And now we have subject C, 3 proposed draft budget scenarios fiscal year 2020-21.
Because we've got guests and I don't know. Can you just give me a minute? I'm asking Chrissy a question.
Sure.
Okay. Just to pass a resolution.
No, I mean to move it off.
Oh, do they need? Okay, so I'm gonna, I want to make a suggestion to move the budget to the end of the meeting since we've got guests and an appeal, and I don't know that they need to be bored with the humdrum of our budget.
Great, that's a great idea, actually.
It's
Thank you.
it's, you know, it's a little lengthy. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I don't know that, you know, I want to.
No, it sounds very
I
good.
agree.
So that would be under new business subject A, and we'll come back to subject B afterwards. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll come back to subject 5C. We'll
C.
put after the to the end of the meeting.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll move, there's no old business. We'll go to new business. Under 7, which is subject A, Regional Housing Authority and Central California Housing Corporation requests for permanent local housing allocation funds for Cashin's Field Affordable Housing Project.
Okay, on May 18th, 2020, the city received a letter from the Regional Housing Authority and its co-developer and partner, Central California Housing Authority or Corporation, requesting assistance from the City of Nevada City to provide a loan from its year 1 and year 2 PLHA funds to assist in financing the Cashin's Field Affordable Housing Project in the amount of $157,730. The project will compete for 9% low-income housing disaster tax credits in the July 1, 2020 California Tax Credit Allocation Committee application round. The project needs soft financing in order to be financially feasible. Applications that are not financially feasible do not pass threshold requirements with the CTCAC. The RHA and CCHC believe that the addition of the city's funds to the project would provide the public leverage needed to make the project competitive and feasible. The request included that the loan be structured under the following terms: $157,730 principal loan amount, 3% simple interest up to a 55-year amortization and term, loan payments due annually based on residual receipts. The city's potential loan commitment to the Cashin's Field project would be contingent on the city receiving the PLHA funding from the state. If the city does not receive these funds from the state, the city would not be obligated to provide a loan to the Cashin's Field project out of the general fund or any other discretionary city fund. The County of Nevada received a similar request for a letter of commitment in support of a 2-year allocation of county PLHA funding and the same loan structuring. The request for approval and authorization for the Board of Supervisors chair to sign the letter of commitment of capital funds for Cashin's Field Affordable Housing Project was heard last night at their yesterday at their Board of Supervisors meeting. On that note, we have Lori Doyle here and Gus Becerra and also Mike Dent from the county that can field any questions in regards to this request. And if you recall, the PLHA funds are permanent local housing allocation funds that we will be going into an MOU with the county, who will be doing a joint application with them administering our funds. And in our agreement, we would be talking about how we want to use the funds. That is separate of this request. This request is based on the housing project, what the funds could be used on, and your determination how you like, if you'd like to use those funds, and direct me to bring a commitment letter back on what kind of term of a loan you'd be looking at, and if you're good with the 2-year allocation, which Mike's on the line, can answer any questions, but the county, I believe, agreed last night to do two years of their allocation at a simple interest loan at a 55-year amortization schedule.
It was the same terms for $650,000, which is about 2 years.
So if you guys have any questions, Lori and Gus are available and Mike's available.
Okay, so any questions? Aaron, how about you?
But this is basically the money that we get for our housing project, correct?
Well,
oh, go ahead.
There are housing funds that we're applying for, and we get 5 years worth of about approximately, I think it's $75,000 or $78,000 a year to use for those specified reasons that we talked about at the last meeting.
So, okay. And so we would loan this project $150,000. Correct?
Correct.
And they would pay us back over, I missed the term on that, Katrina.
Up to 55 years.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
in all of our housing projects that I've been involved in, it does take money to bring in affordable housing. And whether it's Brunswick or Lone Oak, the county has contributed, it's called soft financing in these terms. Usually it's 3% over 55 years. We've done general fund, developer fees, and we've also done some program income from our community development block grants as a way to, any money that's coming in shows commitment by the local communities to the project when it's being evaluated for funding at the state level. And it also increases the scores to the project, which increases our chances of getting the tax credits.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, Dwayne, how about you?
Oh yeah, this is common. I'm used to it. It's a token amount. It's amazing that we can get away with putting in that little for what we're getting in return for the community. So I get it. I understand it. I'm used to it. I support it.
How about you, David?
I'll echo Dwayne. I support it. It's a very worthwhile project, much needed in our area, and I'm pleased we're at this level.
Right. Okay. And do we, Dawn, have anything from the public right now on this?
No, no comments from the public.
Okay. And I did have a couple questions that had come from the public regarding design features and so on. And I just want to make sure is like, what do we still have available as far as any kind of design? Like, let's say, for instance, the mother load. What people want to know if there's any more input on that at all.
That's kind of a separate issue, if I can jump in.
Okay, I know this is more fiscal, but
yeah, than what we're talking about tonight. You're going to get a chance to hear about the Cashins project two more times. Well, council will hear at one time, but it's going to planning commission, and then it's going to go to council. So you'll have times, but I would say if you have questions about the actual project itself, that you reach out to Lori or Gus and get your questions to them,
okay, great.
And they can get back to you. If you need their emails, I can provide those.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so then with that, I guess we need a motion.
Actually, I just need staff direction tonight to prepare the commitment letter, and then I'll bring it back.
Okay, gotcha.
Authorize the mayor to sign. So
okay, so staff, so direction to do that. Yeah, we're good to go. And do you expect to do that? Let's see, the next city council meeting, correct?
Yes, it'll be at the next city council meeting.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, everyone, for that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And,
thank you, Lori. Thank you, Gus.
Thank you
for being here.
No, thank you. And Madam Mayor, if you'd like to set up an offline phone call with Lori and I, would be happy to entertain any questions.
That'd be great. I do have a few questions. I've talked to some.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to anytime.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, good. They don't have to stay on for another hour. We will move along. This subject B, and we have November 3rd, 2020 general election ballot measure.
At the November 13th, 2019 City Council meeting, the City Council provided staff direction to work with the Measure S Committee on the development of next steps in moving forward on preparing to place a measure on the ballot for the November 3rd, 2020 election to extend the existing special tax measure S due to sunset 2023. In response to that direction, the city's strategic plan includes the goal to improve and maintain fiscal stability and sustainability. One of the 6-month objectives in support of that goal is to complete legal and practical requirements to place a special tax measure, which requires 2/3 supermajority vote on the ballot to extend Measure S, currently for streets, roads, sidewalks, and storm drains, 1/2 cent sales tax, and to include the addition of funding for water distribution and sewer collection. Due to the fiscal challenges the city is currently experiencing and the future negative economic impacts the city is facing in association to the COVID-19 pandemic, the City Council may want to consider placing a short-term suggested 3 to 5 year general tax measure for 3/8 cent on the November 3rd, 2020 ballot. A general tax requires a 50% plus 1 vote, and could provide funding in an effort to balance the city's upcoming budgets that are currently being projected to perform in deficit capacities, which includes the general fund, Measure C, Measure S, water and wastewater funds. On November 6, 2012, Nevada city voters passed a general tax measure. It was tax measure L. That was a 5-year measure, which was used to compensate for the revenue reductions that the city experienced during the Great Recession between 2008 and 2011. Funding received from Measure L was used to create reserves for the general fund for operations, pension, and capital replacement, to bring the city back to full staffing as some departmental heads were reduced to part-time and employees were furloughed, for deferred maintenance on city buildings and grounds, deferred capital projects, equipment repair and replacement, and economic development. Measure L was instrumental in improving the overall financial stability and health of the city by providing the funding to support the above mentioned operations, activities, and services, and was fundamental in returning the city to its full services. Also, we ended up using that funding to support the 3 firefighter positions until our tax measure C had passed. The proposed fiscal year 2021 budget does not achieve balanced fund operations. Despite significant cuts in operations and maintenance, as well as capital outlay, the city is facing deficits in the general fund and wastewater fund, with the remaining funds slightly operating in the black with revenues over expenditures. With the bleak outlook on the financial future and unknown length of time for financial recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic impacts, the city could fall behind again in the maintenance operations and activities of the city. There's also the possibility that in order to balance the upcoming budget or budgets, the city could need to implement furloughs as the financial impacts are realized, creating major service reductions to the public. For the upcoming fiscal year 1920 and 2021 budgets, the City Council provided staff direction to prepare the budgets with the negative and slightly favorable overall operational balances, and to use city operational reserves to balance the deficits in the budget. This was the recommended solution for the current situations presented in the 1920 and 2021 budgets. However, the use of reserves to continue balancing future budgets cannot be maintained or supported by the current reserve levels. A 3/8 cent short-term general tax could provide the city with $400,000 to $500,000 in additional funding annually to keep the city services, activities, operations, and capital improvements supported for full operations. A general tax measure should also provide the funding for wildfire and vegetation management, which was cut in half for the 2021 budget. Staff is seeking direction as to the City Council's desire to place a measure on the November 3rd, 2020 ballot for 1, the extension of special measure S tax for a 1/2 cent with the sunset clause removed and inclusion of water distribution and sewer collection. 2, a 3/8 cent general tax to provide stopgap funding for revenue reductions related to the COVID pandemic. Or 3, to place 2 measures on the ballot for the upcoming general election. I'm bringing this forward because basically we need to submit a resolution for a general election to the county. And with that, we'll need to have a ballot question prepared for that resolution. And we need to do that by the next meeting. So hence my reason for bringing up and putting both of these options out in front of you so that you can give some guidance to staff on where you'd like to head with the November 3rd, 2020 election and placing ballot measures.
Okay, Dwayne.
I guess I would ask what is the kind of gauging barometer of some of our locals that have helped us with these measures in the past that are knowledgeable as to whether it makes sense to do either or both versus doing one in November and maybe one at the next election cycle and splitting them so it's not so much, although I do think the public out of common sense is going to understand the strain put on all of our quality of life, logistical services because of COVID. But I'd like to know kind of what our input is from outside sources.
I got obviously really good support on the Measure S. I have not had a lot of time to reach out about a general tax measure that was just thrown out there by one individual that helped us with past measures, kind of threw it out there as an idea. And some staff, we've talked about it, and see that as a possibility. But I haven't had a great opportunity to reach out real far to find out if a general tax is where people would like to see us go. So, but I didn't want to leave that off the table for you guys to consider. Measure S to me is an obvious, and the Measure S and adding the water distribution and sewer collection is going to significantly help our ratepayers, because as you see, our operations for water and sewer, they run in the negative, and mostly that's because of the capital outlay requirements. And if we were to fold the distribution and collection system into Measure S, that is going to significantly help the funding requirements for infrastructure, because the measure would help pay for those things and relieve the actual water and sewer fund of those costs, which at this point in time, looking at especially the sewer fund, I don't know that we could ever get our rates to a point where the ratepayers would be covering the capital. So this is this Measure S is, to me, is a no-brainer. I'm not real sure, and I haven't seen a lot of information come out about other cities and consideration of tax measures. I'm not sure if any of you have seen anything coming out, but I haven't seen a lot of people jumping quite that direction yet.
Well, we knew S was coming for the last couple of years. And like you said, yes, that is a no-brainer. I think our community will 100% support that, because they've seen the benefits it's provided up to this point. So I guess my only question would be, I'm not against the second option also, but I'd like to kind of get a feeling for what the community would think. And I know I have not seen other communities bring that up yet, but it's inevitable. We're going to see a flood of those hit the ballot measures the next couple of years.
So maybe my suggestion would be that we definitely go forward with S. I can tell you, I'm not super comfortable with doing two. I don't know right now that that's the best idea. So maybe what we do is we continue forward with Measure S like planned, and we monitor the fiscal situation. We do have the reserves there that we can use. But if we see that things aren't bouncing back the way we think they should be, we could then futuristically consider a general tax, maybe after we see how things go this next fiscal year.
I like that idea much better. Thank you.
And for the public's sake, this sales tax, majority of the sales tax comes from visitors, out-of-town visitors, correct?
Correct. And in talking with some of the people that have run the last measures, it's 60% of the special tax come from, outside visitors, tourists.
Okay, great. Aaron, do you have any comments, questions?
I don't like the idea of doing two measures. I think that is just adding fuel to the fire right now. I think we should move with Measure S and wait and see where we are. I'm not sure we're going to be in any better shape, but I don't feel like this is a good time to do a general tax.
Okay, David, how about you?
I support Measure S. It's a proven factor affecting us in this city, and I think the addition of the collection for water and sewer is a good idea. And I'm not a big fan of going to the sales tax at this time.
And how do you feel about dropping the sunset clause, to where if we went forward with Measure S, we would just remove a sunset clause and not have anything on there?
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely here too.
Yeah, we're always going to need infrastructure improvements. We're always going to be needing money. I think it's been very successful. We're not certainly getting complaints from the public about it. It's minuscule, but it adds up to a lot, and it has served the city well over the years. It has definitely served us well.
Definitely.
So on that, why don't we have Dawn? Do we have any public comment on this?
It does not look like it, no.
Okay. All right. then let's go back to, I've got so many pages open.
I think you're good. You provided the staff direction I was looking for, so that's all I really needed for tonight. A resolution will come back to you at the next meeting.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you, Katrina.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to that. It's exciting, and I'm glad we have it available as a tool. So then we have next subject B, or subject C, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City authorizing a rate adjustment for solid waste and recycling services.
Okay, and I just want to announce that we do have Shivati and Larry from Waste Management here to answer any questions after you hear this item. In September of 2011, the city and Waste Management entered into a franchise agreement that expires June 30th, 2025. In the agreement, a formula was settled upon that allows for Waste Management to annually modify rates for services provided. The annual increase or decrease is calculated by applying 75% of the U.S. city average consumer price index, and that's over a 12-month period ending March 31st, to the service portion of the current rates and adjusting disposal costs, which are the gate fees, 100% of the increase or decrease for the next year. The proposed 2020 service portion rate is being adjusted by 1.45%. The disposal is being increased by 4.81% due to the transfer station's July 1, 2020 proposal rate increase from $78.10 to $80.58, and the 2019 transfer station rate increase from 76.88 to 78.10 that wasn't implemented by the county or Waste Management submitted. It submitted its increase after 2019. So basically we didn't get an increase in 2019. So 4.81 constitutes the 2019 rate increase that we didn't implement, and then the 2020. So the impact to the most common residential rate, which is the 35-gallon cart, both is an average of 2.37%. The city currently receives franchise fees from Waste Management of 10%. And with that, again, Shivati and Larry are available to answer any questions. This is an annual increase that we do, and it is part of our franchise agreement.
And why did we not do it in 2019?
I think they submitted their rate increases after we had already gone past the July 1 period, but Shivati might have a different answer.
I think he said that in a meeting we had.
Hi, Shivati, welcome.
Hi, good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I also wanted to mention I have Brad Sia on. He's our area public sector director. As far as why the disposal fee wasn't implemented last year, as we were under negotiation with the county for updating their contract. And by the time their contract updated and the rates were finalized, the Nevada City price increase had already gone through for 2019. So just let it be then.
Gotcha, very good. Okay, so Dwayne, do you have any questions?
No comment. No, we've done this before, and it's very affordable for what we get in exchange with our services. So no, I understand it.
Okay, how about you, Aaron?
Nope, I'm good to go.
Mr. Parker?
Same here.
Okay, so it's pretty much housekeeping, really what it is. What it is. Okay, any public comments right now on this topic? Dawn, I know you love reading.
It's not letting me unmute. No, sorry, it wasn't letting me unmute. No, I don't have any public comment.
All righty, so if that is the case, then we need to have a motion to pass the resolution.
Motion to approve Resolution 2020X in order, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City authorizing a rate adjustment for solid waste and recycling services from Waste Management.
Second.
Okay, Dave did a second. Can we have a roll call for those in favor?
Councilmember Strasser.
Yes.
Councilmember Parker.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Minette.
Yes.
Mayor Senum.
All right, and thank you so much, Shivati, appreciate it. Thank you, Brad. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here and your assistance and your time.
Thank you. And as fascinating your next topic is, thanks for moving us up.
Oh, you just cut out just a tiny bit there on.
Oh, I was saying your next topic is very fascinating, but thank you for moving us up
You're absolutely
in
happy.
the agenda.
Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you. Have a
Take
good
care,
evening.
guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so subject D, appeal of planning commission decision to deny a variance from development performance standards and historic district signage standards as proposed by representatives of the National Exchange Hotel for the property located at 211 Broad Street, Nevada City, known as the National Hotel. So do you want to speak to that, Amy, or?
Sure, I'll start, and then, and sorry, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'll give a brief introduction, and then we do have Sherry Villanueva from the National Hotel, and she can give a short presentation also. But I do have, normally I'd be showing the application material at the meeting. So I think while Sherry, I'll just go ahead and give my presentation, or do you want me to share anything right now? Not sure how you'd like me to do it. I can, why don't I just go through my staff report and I'll share the application material once Sherry's doing her presentation.
Yeah.
So yes, the applicant is in the process of renovating the historic hotel. Representatives have presented a variance application to the Planning Commission at their February 20th, 2020 meeting. It was the appeal was originally supposed to go to the council at the March 25th meeting, but at that time, the stay-at-home order had just taken place, and we didn't really have a good way to take public comment. The applicant has proposed to paint a sign on the east side of the building. The sign is proposed approximately to be 100 square feet, oriented vertically along the building's east side. The variance request involves a deviation from two sections of the zoning ordinance. One, Section 17.80.180, which states that no exterior surface of any building or structure in any zone shall be painted in any color or with graphic design, whereby such color or super graphic shall constitute a message, code, or signal, and legal signs are accepted. And then a deviation from Section 17.68.080, subsection E, which states no single sign shall exceed 24 square feet in area within the historic district. The application attached to the staff report includes an early illustration of the National Hotel that appears to show a painted sign in a similar location as a proposed sign. The design presented to the Planning Commission was different in design, dimensions, and orientation from the illustration. The applicant has included two other options for the City Council to consider, one of which attempts to mimic that previous design depicted on the historic illustration. At the February 20th, 2020 meeting, the Planning Commission denied the variance request because they were unable to make the necessary findings required for a variance. If the council overturns the Planning Commission decision, council would have to make findings that there is a special circumstance constituting a hardship, and that granting the sign would not constitute a special privilege inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and zone. Staff has included the following findings in the resolution that you guys are considering tonight based on information provided in the application. Specifically, that the sign does not constitute a special privilege inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and zone in which such property is situated, because the size and architectural style deprive the business of means to provide meaningful signage that is not diminished by the building's stature, particularly with the overhanging balconies along the building face, whereas other commercial buildings without such large imposing balconies are able to provide easily visible signage. And the National Hotel is often a visitor's first point of contact, and a sign in excess of the standard 24 square foot limitation is necessary to provide clear and easy visibility for registered guests that may be unfamiliar with the city to readily find their hotel accommodation when they enter downtown, so that they may safely navigate the city's narrow, busy streets. And then there's been 2 points that have been made in public comments that I just wanted to address briefly before turning it over to Sherry. The Planning Commission has previously reviewed sign proposals where signage was proposed on a side without an entrance, as is the case with this signage. In a 1987 appeal of a sign similarly proposed, the City Council had made a finding that the sign was inconsistent with the sign design guidelines, which read as follows. The City Council in 1987 clarified the zoning ordinance as to signage relative to building entrances, that and they unanimously voted that each public entrance on each street may have 24 square feet of signage. Multiple businesses would share the 24 square feet, and the design must be located on the side of the business entrance. However, that interpretation made by council in 1987 was placed only in the design guidelines and not actually adopted by an ordinance. So the sign proposed doesn't actually require variance to that particular. There's not really a variance procedure for a violation of a design guideline. So if I would just advise if the council wants to see that in an actual ordinance, that it be placed there and not just design guidelines. And then finally, another point that was raised in the public comments were that the city council, as a part of their review and determination for sign permits under chapter 12.08, generally have design review authority that may be reviewed for any construction of any freeway visible sign. However, section 12.08.050, which outlines permitting requirements, states that no such permit shall be required for any advertising display located within the historical district for which a permit is required basically under the historical ordinance of this code. The appeal of the above variance therefore satisfies the necessary permit application requirements under the chapter, and staff doesn't recommend a separate action for the freeway visible component. However, council may consider the freeway visibility a factor in their review of the appeal. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sherry. It's exempt from CEQA pretty clearly. Council, the recommendation for council is to take a public hearing and make a decision whether to uphold, overturn, or modify the planning commission decision to deny the variance from development.
Okay.
And I'm going to share my screen while Sherry talks.
Hi, Sherry, welcome.
Hi, thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you. All right, we'll get that screen going here in a second.
It's not wanting to.
Want me to share mine?
Application material.
Amy, should Sherry do it?
Sherry, do you have it handy?
Yeah, you're talking about the 3 images for the proposal.
Yeah, I mean, I had all of your material attached to the staff report, and I was just going to share that while you were talking. But for some reason, it's just a PDF, so I'm not sure why it's not.
I can do
It was in our packet.
Yeah, it is all in the packet, but just is a white screen when I try to share it.
I'm happy to share my screen and just see if that helps. How's that working? Is that there?
Good.
Yep.
So I think, and thank you, Amy. I appreciate the overview from sort of the ordinance and policy perspective. You know, I think what I guess I wanted to back up a little bit on our intent with this sign and really to sort of describe our philosophy and why, you know, we want to ask for your support as it relates to this sign. So there are 2 things that Amy mentioned that the sign was originally rejected on. One is that the ordinance states that you're not allowed to paint directly onto a brick building. And the other is the size and scale of the sign. And I just wanted to kind of briefly address those 2 points. If it's impossible to get beyond the objection of painting directly onto a building, we are willing to look at painting onto a wooden panel and attaching that wooden panel to a sign. It's not our first choice. It's not what we proposed because it's not historically relevant. We have gone through extensive pains to try and make every detail of the hotel property historically relevant. We've done research. We've made lots and lots of decisions at great expense to try and keep the hotel authentic and have it really feel like it was something that existed in the 1800s. So in our opinion, painting a sign on a wood panel and attaching that wood panel to the side of the building is not historically relevant and will detract from the authenticity and from really what feels like a sign that might have been there when the hotel was originally built. So I just wanted to kind of address that first objection. The second has to do with the scale of the sign. And what we have here is we put together 3 different options that the city council can look at as far as what we think might be good approaches to a sign on the side of the building. We left our appeal application open to say we are willing to change the design. We're willing to work with the city to come up with a design that meets the city's objectives and also the hotel's objectives. I mean, what we're really trying to do is to make sure that we are representing the hotel and its historical relevance as an important part of the downtown historic district. We're not trying to take over the historic district. We're trying to really create, you know, an appropriate entry point and a welcome to visitors who are coming into Nevada City looking to explore the entire downtown district. And that's really our objective. We feel privileged and we feel really excited to be a part of the community of businesses in the downtown area. And we feel that we can contribute to economic vitality in the downtown area. But we also feel that there needs to be signage that brings people in, people who are passing by on the freeway, people who are not familiar with the area, looking for the hotel, using it as sort of a beacon to be able to enter into the larger downtown district. A 24 square foot sign is not scalable. It's not an appropriate scale, I should say, for a building of this magnitude. It's silly. I mean, it really would not be historically relevant. It would not be representative of the time, care, and attention that we've put into the design of the property. And it really would not suffice in what we're trying to accomplish with the sign on the east elevation. So what we did here is we put up 3 different suggestions, but like I said, we're wide open to working with the city if the city has input or wants to change the design in any way. The first one that you can see on the screen came from input at previous planning commission meetings. And what that input was the sign should maybe not be just for the National Hotel, but should actually also serve as a welcome mat or an opportunity to welcome people into the downtown district. So we took our new logo, which was designed by 2 local residents, and they spent great pains to try to create a logo, again, that was historically relevant. It was an updated version, but rooted in really what the history of the hotel was and what it represented. And we added the Welcome to Nevada City because we thought that that would be a nice way to be able to welcome visitors into the downtown area. It's separate from what the hotel is all about. And it would be a great opportunity, a photo opportunity, if you will, looking up Broad Street into the downtown area. So that was one suggestion that we made when we were going through the process with the Planning Commission. Another suggestion is to just do the logo of the National Hotel. Again, it needs to be at a scale, and you can see this on this scale drawing, that is appropriate to the building. A smaller scale, a sign that is 6 by 4 feet, would not look appropriate on this size of a building. And then the third suggestion we made is actually just a direct representation of a historic sign that was originally on the building itself. And again, our objective is to try to, revive the hotel and bring it back to the glory that it had when it was originally built. So taking a sign that's rooted in that history, exactly like it was back in the 1800s is another option that we're absolutely willing to live with. Again, it needs to be at a scale that's appropriate for the building. We believe it should be painted on the brick because, again, that gives it authenticity. We can cut letters out of wood or metal and affix them to the building if that is preferable to the city. But we don't believe that that's the best execution of this sign based on what the historic relevance would be. Amy also mentioned, and I know you're all very familiar with the building, but you can see it here as well. With the overhang of the veranda, it's very difficult to get the right kind of signage by putting a blade sign that's coming out over Broad Street. You know, we plan to have some sign in the window or above the door or something so that people walking down the street will be able to know that they've arrived at the National Hotel. But it doesn't give the visibility that we think that the hotel really needs for visitors coming who are not familiar with Nevada City, who are coming in from out of town, to be able to find the hotel easily and find the downtown district. So in a nutshell, that's really our position. We have, you know, spoken to many residents, including the Chamber of Commerce, to talk to them about, you know, are they in support of this type of signage? You know, in the conversations we've had, we've gotten a lot of positive support as it relates to this kind of signage on the side of the building. And so we would ask for your approval to be able to move forward with the parameters, knowing that we can go to the next step to work together to come up with a design that's amenable to everyone.
And what was the Chamber's response, Sherry?
It was very supportive. I from the last conversation I had with them, I thought they were going to write a letter. I don't know if they submitted that to the city or not. In the last meeting that we had, that was what they had suggested to me, that they would be writing a letter in support of the sign.
Okay. Thank you. So for right now, do we have any questions from the council members, Aaron or Dwayne or David?
No, I'd like to hear from the public.
And I'm probably the same. I've studied this thoroughly and talked to more people than I can even imagine on all sides of it. So I think I'd love to hear from the public first.
How about you, David?
Oh, I'll go with that.
Okay, so Dawn, can you do you have any comments from the public?
I have all kinds. All right, the first is from Paul Matson on North Pine Street. We are so very fortunate that the National Hotel was acquired and is being rehabilitated in time to save this all-important building and all that it represents. It will once again be a centerpiece for our downtown, which in turn is a centerpiece for all of Nevada City. The Nevada City Planning Commission, city staff, and the building's owners and advisors have worked very well together in bringing this landmark appropriately back to life. It will be a stunning addition. The commission, however, did unanimously deny a sign application for a proposed painted sign on the side of the building. I completely agree with and support that decision. Our downtown setting, which is so important to our town, is the product of more than 50 years of steadfast adherence to the historical ordinance and its guidelines, and at times to the dismay of the applicants. The sign as proposed violates every single principle that these documents provide. Those violations are: 1, it is visible from the freeway; 2, it is painted on the building; 3, it does not correlate to an entrance to the hotel; 4, its purpose does not focus exclusively on the nature of the building's business; 5, it is 400% larger than that which is allowed. No other downtown building violates any of these precepts. If approved, there will be other buildings, both large and small, within the historical district that will be entitled to do the same. We have a planning commission that is consistently supportive of our business and residential communities' wants and needs. The fact that they unanimously agreed that this proposed sign is not acceptable speaks volumes. Thank you for your careful consideration of this matter. Again, I am grateful for the resources and determination exist to bring the National Hotel. I cannot wait until it opens. In my entire lifetime, this is the only letter I have ever written to the Nevada City Council. In the best interest of our city, I urge you to uphold the decision of the Planning Commission in this manner and deny this sign application. Next is from Kathy Wilcox Barnes on Nye Hill Street. I am respectfully requesting that the City Council continue the appeal on the National Hotel sign until such time as the citizens can address the council in person again. The appeal process allows the time, and since, as of 2 weeks ago, at least portions of the inside of the hotel, old dining room, are still down to bare walls and studs, there does not seem to be an urgent reason to hold the appeal while the public has no way to comment other than via letters or emails sent and read in a very ineffective way. Part of our long-held rights are for the public to address our elected leaders in person. I realize there are some functions of government that have to be handled via the Zoom or YouTube meetings, but important items such as appeals and large projects that will have a long-term impact on our citizens should be continued until we can look you in the eye and speak face to face. Thank you for considering my request. Lori Oberholzer, Nevada Street. I'm not writing a note on this issue because I would like to concede my 3 minutes to reading of Dan Ketchum's letter. Okay. His wasn't 3 minutes, but I will read his next. Daniel Ketchum, President of Nevada County Historical Society. We respectfully.
Can I stop you? I actually need to have control of the screen so I can share a PDF that Dan had, but I don't have control of the screen right now.
Okay, so we need that back from Sherry.
Ah.
No pressure, no pressure. Got you on the spot.
That work?
No. There you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Good job.
Let me see here.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I know.
It's delayed. You have the delay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna share some of these because I think they correspond to some of the things that Dawn is reading.
Okay. What he's written is not very long, so maybe you have. Oh, okay. I see. There is a whole letter. Okay. We respectfully request that this item be put off until we have a system that allows the city to bring in each speaker who wants to be visible when they speak on the Zoom screen. It is a critical item as an appeal with variances involved and with the historical district. My read is that the city has the right to schedule appeal meetings at their pleasure with no deadline and continue them as needed. We would prefer to wait until we can be in the chambers. And so then the letter on the Historical Society letterhead. I represent the Nevada County Historical Society, and a number of people have agreed not to enter letters to be read so that I can use their time and give you a 10-minute presentation. It's a lot of reading. Okay, I can do this. Don't worry, it includes photos. We are very pleased with the work that the National Hotel owners are doing. Bringing this beautiful building back to its glory has been long hoped for. However, we ask you tonight to deny their sign denial appeal. The hotel will be a big success with or without it, but our historical district will be negatively impacted if we start slowly allowing erosion of its long successful vision. Nevada City's historical ordinance has guided our historical district well since 1969. It places an emphasis on the architecture of its building and focuses on controlling signage. The proposed sign would clearly violate 5 standards in our zoning ordinance that implement the historical district goals. 1, signs in the historical district cannot exceed 24 square feet to 100 square feet is proposed. Signs in the historical district are only allowed on building sides with an entrance. Fairly recent, this was affirmed by the city council in its denial of the Remax sign on Commercial Street because their entrance is on Pine Street. No signs or murals are allowed to be painted on walls anywhere in the city. Though there were wall painted signs in the 1800s downtown, the authors of the historical ordinance agreed that the focus should be on our architecture and not cluttered by painted walls, wall signs, or an overabundance of the number and size of signs. This concept has guided us well for 51 years with great results. The sign will be visible from the highway. Signs visible from the freeway are prohibited if designed to be viewed primarily from the freeway, and scenic corridor goals must be met by any sign visible from the highway. Signs visible from the highway are allowed to include only the business name or occupant. The words Nevada City are not allowed on this sign. All of these sign standards are important, but in particular, allowing a sign of any size on a wall with no entry would create a harmful precedent. This would make it difficult to deny other signs on non-entry or blank walls throughout our historical district. The architectural beauty of our unique town would deteriorate. We have a number of pictures to show you which this precedent could be repeated. Some are very large buildings with blank sides and no entry, exactly like the National Hotel situation. It is obvious that the National is not the only large building in downtown. Others have large or small blank walls, entry or not, that could support with variances signs as large or larger than proposed by the National. The following building walls also have no entrance. 1, more buildings with side-facing walls and no entrance similar to the National, Recreation Realty. 2, the uphill side of the Nevada Theater, a huge building also on the National Register. 3, First Baptist Church, again, the no entrance side. 4, Asylum Down on a very prominent corner. 5, Ott's Assay House, large brick expanse also on a prominent corner. No entrance, so very similar to National situation. 6, Oddfellows Lodge front and back, a very large building. 7, a small building with potential for a wall sign with no entry. 8, Utopian Stone, Pine Street side. Large building, also with lots of room for a large wall sign. The next buildings have blank walls with an entry, but could support very large signs if granted a similar variance. 9, Nevada Theater. Both sides could hold a large wall sign, and this is a very large dominant anchor building like the National. 10, 246 Commercial Street. 11, the Spirit House building. 12, 315 across from Ike's. 13, Bonanza Market has a large expanse of blank wall which could support a large sign. 14, Friar Tuck's has a similar situation. 15, City Council Coffee Building has a large wall on a dominant corner and is a very large building. 16, we have buildings that could support similar signs right on the freeway. This is the post office, no entry. 17, the First Baptist Church. 18, the Griggs building faces the freeway, no entry. We also refer you to our past letters which disagree with other claims by the National, such as the fact that balconies will make it difficult to see a sign on the Broad Street frontage and that it is hard for visitors to find the hotel from the highway or Broad Street. We disagree. We agree with the Planning Commission's decision. The proposed sign would not deprive the National owners of special sign visibility privileges somehow enjoyed by other property owners. There is no hardship that would result from denying the sign. However, the sign approval would likely be a special privilege for the National. The commission also concluded with great common sense that the size of the hotel is not a special circumstance warranting a variance. We appreciate the work that the new hotel owners are doing. However, we remind the council that there is a long history of people and decisions behind the creation of our ordinance and guidelines intended to protect our historical district. Our adherence to them for 51 years has resulted in the most well-preserved motherlode commercial district in California. Please uphold the 5-0 vote of your planning commission. Also, please do not approve an alternate sign on this side of the building, as that would still require a variance from our historical district standards and create a bad precedent. Okay, the next comes from Judith Lowry and Brad Crowell of 401 Nevada Street. Nevada City, Grass Valley, and Truckee were recently honored by the California Arts Council, designating this county as an important cultural asset. The credit for that goes largely you know what, I'm going to give myself a second on this one because it's cutting off and I still have it in email, so I'll come back to that one.
Don, let me ask if we're allowed to pitch in right now. With overwhelmingly, even the people against this asked us to put this off until we get to a meeting where they can come in person. Is that something, Chrissy, that we can actually do now? So Dawn doesn't have to go through a half an hour of reading these, especially people that she's reading that are asking us to put this off.
I actually would like that. I am not comfortable with this one being done on Zoom.
Are we allowed to jump in and make a decision now so we save everybody some time?
Just get her mute. You need to unmute.
Hey, Amy, does our zoning ordinance, I was just looking at that actually to see what the time frame was. I mean, due process requirements generally don't allow us to continue this inevitably, forever, because the applicant needs some idea of where to go with applying for a new sign permit or so because we've put it off so long, I think it would be okay to put it off another meeting. I think since you've opened up the public comment, though, I think we need to hear the rest of the comments, and then you can decide if you want to, give staff direction one way or the other, or give some feedback and ask the. I don't know. What's your feedback, Amy?
Oh, I was just gonna respond with, I don't think there's anything in our ordinance that says how long it needs to take. The ordinance just says that the appeal needs to be filed within a certain time frame, and they did that. So yeah, beyond that, I don't think there's anything that tells us how long it needs to take. Although,
Dawn, how many more letters do we have?
Let me count.
Yeah.
And there are a lot more emails that have come in than the letters Dawn actually has, so.
Well, I mean, you've already started
There's 9, but several of them are really short.
I don't know. I mean, it's not typical to stop in the middle of it and
Yeah,
continue.
no, that's fine. I was just asking because I know Daniel's, who I respect his input. We're also not used to having people give up, quote unquote, their 3 minutes so that somebody can talk for 10. It feels like we really need to stick by our rules, and we're only going to be able to do that when we actually get this back in person.
Yeah, Amy and I talked about that, and because people are not able to be here in person, and we were trying to accommodate people as much as possible, and because they do that too, people are able to.
We also allowed that on the wireless ordinance also, Dwayne.
Yeah,
We were just trying to be as fair as possible, given that this is it's not ideal for public participation via electronic, although it's legal. We were trying to.
I'm good with whatever, but I know that people on both sides of this topic have asked us to put it off until they can be there in person. I think that's only fair. If we need to sit through the rest of the letters, that's fine. And I mean, I don't have any guarantee the rest of the council.
Are you in a hurry to get us to deal with this?
No, we're not in a hurry. I mean, we're trying we've been working tirelessly to try and get the hotel completed. We can move forward without the sign and still try to get the hotel opened.
Well, there's never been a sign there before, and people always know where the National Hotel is.
Actually, that's not true.
Sign there in the 1800s.
Yeah, but look in the packet.
It's historic.
That was an advertisement. There was no lettering on that building ever. So
that's not true.
No, she has historic photos of it.
So the answer to your question, we're going to keep the project moving forward. I mean, we have engaged. There's been expense associated with working with graphic designers and trying to come up with something. We want, we're here for the long term, and we're really have invested in this property for the long term, and we want it to be the best that it can be for the long term. So wouldn't want to sell it short on demanding a quick decision on something that we think is very important in the long-term success of the property. So if that means continuing to the next meeting or till a time where we can meet in person, then that's okay with us.
So I think that's my next question is, can we please meet in person in the next city council meeting? Because
it's really going to be dependent upon the city staff working with NCTV to see if, I don't know if we're going to, I don't really know. We're going to talk about it on Friday's call, which I think is important to know what other jurisdictions are doing before we just invite the public back in. But even if it was just the council to meet in the chambers live, we may have to do a virtual split live meeting, which would require NCTV's assistance. And I don't know that we have the appropriate commitment unless we went all live. And I don't know where a lot of jurisdictions are standing right now with letting the public back into their council chambers.
This should not be a rush. Everybody is asking us to put it off until they can actually come in person, is what I'm getting. So I don't think we should push it or try to do. I mean, we've already shown we're technically challenged. We're doing the best we can, but to have some kind of a weird split between meeting, that's not what people want from us. They want to be there in person on this topic because the National is going to be there for the next 100 years. So.
I agree. This is a public hearing and you've opened it. I think maybe, Dawn, if you're having repetitive comments, maybe summarize them instead, or, it sounds like there's not that many left. Yeah, so I would suggest hearing the rest of the public comment, and then it sounds like you guys want to discuss, if you do decide to continue it to the next meeting, you can, but because we've already gotten through quite a bit, unless that. No,
that we trust, that's why I asked. So we trust you.
Sorry, Sherry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So am I continuing on?
Yes. Unless it's redundant, then skip it.
Okay, I didn't read them ahead of time, so I don't really know if they are, but I'm going to read the one from Judith Lowry and Brad Krell on Nevada Street. Nevada City, Grass Valley, and Truckee were recently honored by the California Arts Council, designating this county as an important cultural asset. The credit for that goes largely to the many visual and performing artists who made their home here. At present, Nevada City is the only town in our county to ban murals because they do not reflect the city's, quote, motherlode history. Yet the buildings in Nevada City are almost uniformly festooned with white Christmas lights year-round. Parking meters line the streets, store windows bear vinyl typeface instead of hand-painted lettering, and plastic no smoking signs are hung everywhere in vain. Why then should the National Hotel not be allowed its crest to be painted upon the building? Some have mistakenly labeled the design a logo. A logo type is an advertising sign or glyph often used for corporate chain businesses. The design for the National Hotel crest, on the other hand, is one of a kind, like the hotel itself, singular and unique in all the world, and will likely grace the hotel's fine stationery in every room. Therefore, it should be seriously considered for approval, not only because it adheres to typical Barbary Coast period signage of the Gold Rush era, when half of San Francisco emptied into these hills and exerted a good deal of aesthetic influence, but because it is a beautiful work by an artist's hand and the hotel itself deserves to proclaim itself proudly. Why hide its light under a bushel? The NEH crest on the building would soften its slab-sided, nondescript warehouse look from the city's entrance, as well as set it apart from the clamor of myriad hanging signs which line all of the city's sidewalks. Please allow the variance for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to not only express our gratitude for the hotel's long-deferred, challenging, and costly restoration, but also to have a beautiful piece of artistic nostalgia be the first thing to greet our visitors' eyes as they enter the city. All right, the next is from Sherry Villanueva on Broad Street.
You could skip that. That's just me again. I wasn't sure.
Oh, that's you.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I even said it out loud and it didn't click. All right. So the next one is Anne La Esperance on Chester Street in Grass Valley. I am writing in favor of the sign that is proposed to go on the wall at the National Hotel. As I respect and understand all of the Historical Society's concerns and hard work they have put into preserving the downtown historic district, I believe that some of the regulations put into place ignore and erase an important part of history. Sign painting has been around for centuries and can be seen all around the county and beyond. The proposed sign celebrates a craft that has been lost in the digital age and is not only there to acknowledge the property, but is there to enhance Nevada City. The team has worked hard to reference styles, fonts, and an overall design that nods to the National's colorful history. As someone who started coming to the area towards the end of the National's former lifetime, I entered the downtown not really realizing where I was. I'd heard the same from other visitors, that they got off the freeway and just drove up the hill without realizing that the National is right there, or that they are in the historical district. I think it is important to denote the downtown area and give visitors a sense of direction and locals a sense of pride. The next is from Nikia Schwartz on Grove Street. I am writing in to offer my plea that the Planning Commission reconsider denial of the sign variance application for the National Hotel. I've watched the signage debate closely and have seen the proposed signage for the freeway facing wall of the National Hotel. As a lifelong Nevada County local, I was and am excited for the potential benefits having a period-specific sign at the entrance to downtown could offer, especially with the hits the downtown businesses have taken during the pandemic. Now more than ever feels like a ripe time to warmly welcome visitors to town with the beautiful rendered National Hotel sign. The hotel is a beloved and iconic feature of the downtown district, and its success has a direct effect on the success of every other business in town. The sign ordinance that was used to deny the variance is outdated and missing accurate historical data on the presence of similar type signs throughout town during the Gold Rush period. Furthermore, it is my understanding that the artists and hotel managing partners are willing to amend the design to suit the desires of the Planning Commission should it need to be amended. This is from Andrea Good on Clay Street. I am in support of the National Hotel's proposed signage for the east wall of the building. I think it would be a charming, beautiful addition to the downtown district, as well as adding historic flair in the type of signage that used to be painted on buildings. It would be a fun way to use that blank wall. I can't see how it would in any way be detrimental to the overall look and feel of Nevada City. Please consider the appeal. Thank you. This is from Jeff and Aaron Lewis. I don't see an address. I'm writing today in support of the National Exchange Hotel's petition to overturn or modify the Planning Commission's decision, the variance application for proposed signage on National Hotel building with exposure to Broad Street. We feel that the signage proposed adds significant value to the downtown community. It is artfully rendered with deep consideration paid to historical context and will add a beautiful sense of place to our downtown district. This is a great example of a rising tide that lifts all boats, especially as downtown businesses struggle for lack of tourism. The signage will act as a lovely welcome to downtown Nevada City. I can easily imagine visitors and locals alike taking pictures on the corner and sharing them on social media, drawing new visitors to the community. The boost in visibility benefits every business in the downtown district and will help bolster our economy. As local business owners with friends who own businesses in the downtown district, we are familiar with the unique struggles of growing a thriving business in a rural community, and we hope that the City Council will recognize this opportunity for increased visibility in our town. Jessica Frazier, Casa Loma Drive in Grass Valley. I would like to express how much I love the proposed painted sign for the National Hotel. I would like to advocate for this sign variance appeal, which I think is the perfect design for our historic and beloved landmark. Ian Diederich on Pine Street. I am emailing in support of the National Hotel signage. As a taxpayer and a voter, historical nerd, and Nevada City native, I would like to pledge in favor of the sign on the side of the building. There are images of signs on the side of the building and historical photographs. I see no reason to deny this essential business for our tourism economy, the ability to show its emblem on the side of the building at the bottom of Broad Street. Richard Good, Country Circle in the county. I support the proposed painted sign on the east wall of the National Exchange Hotel on Broad Street. The design is historically accurate and provides an appropriate welcome as you enter downtown. And then there's a comment on the chat. The National Hotel has been in business since 1856 and has never needed a 105 square sign. The iconic color of green and white building has always been their sign. If what Sherry just voiced about maintaining the historical character of the hotel, why did you change the 164-year-old color of the hotel? That illustration was never on the side of the building. It is only on an illustration for advertising. And that was all from Neil Locke. And that sums up public comment.
Right. Well, then with that, let's see, give me a second here. So at this point in time, I guess what we're looking at is we really want the public to be available for this. Is this correct, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, I am. There's so much on both sides of this. And we also have, I have a real problem with overturning our planning commission. So I think we need to open this up to the public.
Well, that's my issue too. As a planning commission, I've gotten differing views from some of our commissioners, and a few that actually were somewhat supportive of this, but did not vote for it because of the ordinance. They wanted to stick by and support our ordinance wording and not go against that. So I'm contradicted. I haven't been able to talk to Daniel in person. I'd like to talk to him. Judith and Brad, I expected them to be negative. So for them to be positive too, there's a lot of conflicting sides on this. And right now with COVID, with all the craziness going on, I'd like us to focus. This is a long-term choice we're going to make here that's going to be there for a long time. I'd like to let the dust settle and let the public come in on both sides.
I also am really worried about a Pandora's box here. I'm sorry. I like the sign. I think it's beautiful. But we let one business do it and
box. But I do have to say that the National Hotel is an exception because it's the entryway. And
yeah, but every other business is going to say, but my building is the exception.
Yeah, I don't see that. I really don't. I mean, you look up and you don't see a welcome. You don't see anything like that. So But I think ultimately, I think we've already, and David, why don't you pipe in too? Sorry, I didn't mean to jump over you.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you. Personally, I think it's time to take action. I personally believe that the ordinance has protected Nevada City for 50 years. It's done a good job. I don't see any reason to change now. And I don't think you'll change the atmosphere by adding both, both sides to have their voice. They already have their voice. So I think the ordinance has worked, and it's preserved Nevada City to be the gem that it is, the queen of the northern mines. And that's the only thing that has done preserving Nevada City is the ordinances that we pass.
I have to agree with David on that. It's I've seen a couple presentations, and Sherry, I do love the sign. It is gorgeous. But I really have to, unless we're want to spend the next 6 months changing the ordinance on signs, it's like I need to, these people worked hard on this ordinance. They've kept it intact. I'm sorry, I kind of agree with David on this.
So are we looking at voting? Or are we looking at pushing it for the public to have more input?
Well, we've got 4 of us to decide. I'm leaning towards pushing it off because that's what people ask for, including people like Kathy. I think they deserve their piece.
Okay, what do you, Aaron, what do you guys think? This is the question, push it. And sorry, Sherry, we don't mean to have to drag you back here again.
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm not sure my mind's going to change, but that's fine. Whatever you guys want to do.
Well, and Valerie's not here too, by the way.
Yeah.
David?
Well, I'll stay firm what I said. I believe the ordinance has worked, and it's worked well. And
More of a question about, do we push this so the public has?
that I am explaining that. I think it's worked well, and I think it's had an inordinate amount of conversations, and you can look for all the excuses of the pandemic or whatever else you want to say. But the public has been involved in this almost from day one. And whether whoever has the most emails, I'm not sure. But the bottom line is this ordinance has protected Nevada City for 50 years, and I don't think we need to change it. And I'm ready to vote for it now.
Yeah, I agree with David. I'm ready to vote now also.
Somebody wants to make a motion?
So I'm going to call for, hold on, let me get the wording here. Give me a second.
There's a resolution attachment.
I'm looking for it. Sorry, Amy.
No, that's okay. It should be linked to your staff report. And there's an option 1 for upholding the PC's decision, the Planning Commission's decision.
Yeah, that's the one I want. So that's the one I'm going for.
You don't have to read the specific title. If your motion is to deny the appeal and.
Okay, I'm going to motion to deny the appeal.
Based on the findings that are contained in that resolution.
Yes.
That can be your motion.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, can we do a roll call of ayes, please? Katrina?
Councilmember Strasser?
So I guess I'm saying no. I'm against voting tonight. I'd like to wait until everybody can present as they requested. So I'm going to say no.
Is that an abstention or?
Yeah.
No, I'm voting no, meaning that however you want to take it, I want us to wait until people can be heard as they requested. So I do not agree with voting to uphold the Planning Commission's ruling.
I think Katrina's right. It should be more of an abstention because the findings here were either to deny the appeal request to overturn the Planning Commission's denial of the variance or to grant the variance. And you're not doing either of those. So.
Okay, then I will abstain.
What's that?
Councilmember Parker?
I vote aye.
Vice Mayor Manette,
Aye.
Mayor Senum.
I'm going to abstain. I'm with Dwayne on this. I think, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, Sherry. Sorry, everyone.
Okay.
I think we need to have the public come in on this, and it is a big conversation. And, you know, and I mean, I understand the architecture, obviously the importance of the architecture, but I also understand that these type of paintings, painted signs were part of the mother lode. So I think we deserve a deeper conversation at this point in time, because I don't feel like we're getting one way or another a little overwhelming.
When, hey, Amy and I did talk about whether or not, if you decided not to grant the appeal, which the effect of your motion then is that the Planning Commission's decision stands now. If there's an interest in directing Amy and staff to considering an amendment to the sign ordinance with public input, you know, that's another way to go with this. So,
Well, I mean, can we do that? Because again, I mean, I understand whatever, I totally understand everyone's comments as far as the historic matter, but I do go back to, and I'm sorry, I think it is an exception. I think the entryway in the National Hotel right there is an exception, because it is the first thing you see, and it's a huge block, right? There's nothing there that invites you or tells you where you are. And I think that possibly we could just be creative with this. And I don't think it's going to be Pandora's box, because I think if anyone else comes along and says, well, what about my building, my building, my building? Well, is their building the entrance of Nevada City? I don't think it is. So
But we've already given permission for one building to do it. We're going to be hard pressed, because it does change the ordinance, Renette.
Well, the ordinance can be changed in many ways. I mean, that's the other thing that bothers me, and not having Valerie here tonight to weigh in. She's, you know, she's owned historic property downtown. Is that for many, many years, way back in the chamber board days of my life, everybody complained about us not having a gateway to our city. We never had a gateway, and that was important. So not that we're going to vote for this, but it gives us the opportunity to at least have the conversation of maybe finally having an easy solution to a gateway entrance. But I want to talk to these planning or the historical society folks that contradicted each other too, because I trust their input. And when you have some of them saying yes and some saying no, I really need to sit down with, you know, Daniel face to face. That's why I just don't think it's the appropriate time to make the decision tonight, whatever that might mean, even if it means changing the wording in the ordinance down the line. So we have some flexibility in certain circumstances. I absolutely don't want every building putting signs on the side of the building. I get that.
I don't either.
And equity is a hard thing. We always have to be equitable if we can do it. But this again is a unique situation.
And Dwayne, I think you're right. I mean, I look at Grass Valley, they have this huge, beautiful new sign welcoming people to Grass Valley. And Nevada City, we don't have a thing. And I just feel like we might be able to accomplish that through this sign. And it is historic. It's gorgeous. We have a history of painted signs on brick. And again, I think the exception for me is that this is the entryway.
And I don't disagree with you, Annette, but it goes against the ordinance. That, I mean, people could come in and decide they want small cell 5Gs. And so we're supposed to give them permission after you guys have worked so hard on that ordinance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think I get that. But again, each ordinance is different. And the Nationals also at a deficit, meaning that Caltrans, we've been trying for years to get a sign on the highway, which the Holbrook has in Grass Valley. But we haven't, you know, we haven't been able to get Caltrans to give the national equitable advertising for freeway traffic, highway traffic. So I just think it needs more conversation.
Yeah, I do. So my question then, Christy, is what do we do, since obviously if we have 2 no's, 2 ayes, that means basically it goes back to the decision of the Planning Commission. So what do we do in order to get this, to move this towards an open conversation for the public once we go back to regular meetings?
Yep, you're muted.
Yeah.
We would check with the applicant to see if they would like to have the appeal in a future meeting. And Amy and I can work on logistics like of how that works. But so it sounds like Councilmember Parker and Vice Mayor Manette don't think you have the can't make the findings necessary to grant the variance. So again, I say the other option is looking at an ordinance amendment that doesn't allow, it doesn't have to allow painting, of any size on all building fronts, but you could decide to have a program to allow it in certain instances that make sense. And with the public input that you've gotten from this, it may be possible to get some, I don't know, Amy can weigh in, but if you decided to direct staff in that direction, then that might affect the applicant's desire to refile the appeal or to have the appeal come forward again.
Yeah. I mean, that would be my suggestion. Obviously, I'm only one out of the 4 tonight.
So let's get Sherry, your thoughts on this. It would be good to ask you.
We're happy to move the appeal forward. I mean, we, again, because of our conviction, and we believe that it's not only in the best interest of the hotel, but it's in the best interest of downtown. So if that means continuing it and moving it forward for more public comment and more discussion, we're fine with that.
Okay, so if we can pull that off, Chrissy, Amy, and then get the public in here so they can, be heard.
I'm not sure I'm completely following. I think that you might not have the votes to continue it, and you don't have the votes to deny it. So it sounds like with it left there.
Neither motion, neither a denial of the appeal or a granting of the appeal carried. So you just still have the planning commission's action that can be appealed to have. And so we need to talk about how logistically back on the, I don't think we have her pay a new appeal fee and that kind of thing. I think we just give it another opportunity for a majority to either deny or grant the appeal.
Okay.
So there we go then.
But Councilmember Parker and Councilmember Burnett may change their mind, but if they're saying they don't think there's that they can make the findings necessary for the variance, then then you're going to have the other three making those findings. So given that, the other option may be, is an
I
option.
read our sign ordinance and I can't. I'm sorry.
No, I get it. And we would have Valerie's input later too, which would make me feel comfortable, but I don't want it to be heard again until if and when the public is actually allowed to come in. It's pretty straightforward.
And if I'm understanding that this would mean that Sherry and the National Hotel folks would have to file a new appeal, maybe re-looking at some of the basis for findings and submitting something else for the council members to consider. Is that fair?
Sounds good to me.
Not necessarily. I mean,
Yeah,
she still can get the other three, may decide to vote that they can make the findings to grant a variance. So.
Gotcha.
Right. So I think just what we've seen and heard today, I think we need to have Valerie here. We need the public here.
I mean, in all honesty, I wouldn't have even voted for the sign tonight until knowing that we can have the public here. That's the whole point of this, is people have asked to be present. That's what I want.
Yeah, I hear you.
This would just be continued. Would we need to do a date certain or anything? Or we would just renotice it?
We can't, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know until we can get in there. So it might be hopefully 2 weeks, but everything's so up in the air. I said we shoot for it. I really would like that.
I would say the first meeting that we know, once we figure this out, that we can have full access to the public. That's pretty straightforward.
We'll just have to renotice it.
Well, and that's when we could be an entire new council, Dwayne.
Well, that's true. I hadn't even thought about that. That's unfortunate. Boy.
Well, geez.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't have an answer for that.
I think we need to. I just feel strong about the public coming in and speaking. It's a big consideration. Who knew? So.
Well, I think we just need to kind of play it by ear. What else can we do?
Okay, so we're going to basically come back with another appeal as soon as possible once we're in the council chambers. Is that correct?
That's my choice.
Okay.
And Sherry and the national folks can work with staff, as we proceed.
If I could just ask a quick question, if it would be helpful to just have one proposed design, do you have any feedback on the direction, or is it really just a question on any sign or no sign?
I think it's a question of any sign.
Okay.
Yeah, and I, to be fair, the planning commission really only considered the sign that the one sign with the emblem and the banner. They did discuss the option of taking off the Nevada City banner. So I think those two are fair for the appeal. The third option that was presented, I'd probably have to advise taking that back to the planning commission because that's not something that they really considered. So.
And and that bold lettering, was that really on the wall or was that a postcard?
There's an early illustration on an advertisement that it shows on.
I've never seen any photos of that being on the side of the building.
It's hard, that particular area of the building was probably obscured from view because of the annex.
The used to slip around it.
The annex was there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, the annex was added, boy, I don't remember now, but I don't know if it was there prior to that.
Okay. All right. So looks like we're going to basically bring this back at the most convenient time. All right, everybody?
Agreed.
Okay. All right, everyone. Sherry, thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
And
no, I also am going to move that we are almost at the end of, we're supposed to check our time.
Yeah, if you could just let me get through this budget since you guys already heard it.
Okay.
And we can pass that resolution, then we can call it good.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just start on the budget.
Can you please let everyone know that this
Thanks,
is
Sherry.
agenda item, was it, we say 5C, was that? 5C.
Right. Okay, so the draft budget was reviewed at the workshop held on May 20th, 2020. The proposed draft included 3 revenue and expenditure scenarios for the general fund, special funds, including Measure C, Measure S, the water fund, and wastewater fund. The proposed draft budget aspires to achieve the city's goals and objectives with the city's available resources. At the conclusion of the workshop, staff was directed to prepare the proposed fiscal year 2020-21 budget using scenario number 2. I'm getting feedback off somebody. Okay. So we were directed to use scenario number 2 for review and adoption at the council meeting tonight. Since the workshop, the special fund budgets have been added to the draft, and special funds being clean air funds, bridge funds. So those kind of grant fundings have been added. So in scenario number 2, we made significant cuts to all capital outlay projects, cuts to any maintenance projects. Positions that are vacant currently are frozen right now. There will be no cost of living increases and no step increases. So everything's pretty much just frozen. We did cut the fire mitigation, which is our open space budget for, we cut that in half. So we just did a lot of major cuts, but kept everything as far as the current staff levels where they are at right now. So that's scenario number 2. And looking at the the revenue side of scenario number 2, or expenditures over revenues, the city's general fund budget shows a negative net change in the fund of 77,000. So that is scenario number 2, and we end up in the negative still at the end of the year. Discussion at the budget workshop was to use our operational reserves for that. And I wouldn't suggest that we make any determination on that tonight until we actually see how things go. And I think the best thing for us is going to be that we really keep a close eye on the revenues and expenditures and how they're developing through the first 6 months of this year, to determine if there's any changes that might need to be made to the budget. So that's the general fund. I'll go through the special funds since we didn't hear that at the workshop. Are there any questions on the general fund based on what we went over at the workshop and based what's in the staff report right now?
No.
No.
Okay, so the city special fund budget includes city approved grants, state supplied funds, and that are restricted for certain uses. So looking at the special funds, the city, I'm just going to hit on some of the larger ones. The city has budgeted revenues of 1.77 million and expenditures of 2 million for the highway bridge grant construction. There is 11.4% match, which would come from Measure S. The city has budgeted revenues and expenditures of 101,000 in funds from the Nevada County Transportation Commission, which is a ped and bike and regional surface transportation program funding for streets and sidewalks. We've budgeted revenues and expenditures of 100,000 for CMAQ, which is congestion mitigation air quality grants for Searles Avenue and Railroad Avenue. And we've budgeted the remainder of the 30,000 for the Brownsfield cleanup. Let's see here, going to any questions on any of those? Okay.
No.
Looking at Measure C, there are budgeted revenues of 434,000 for Measure C, which is a $23,000 decrease from this current year's budget. And we did work with HDL on those projections. And for scenario number 2, the budget expenditures of 424,000, which includes debt service of 50,000 for the new engine that was purchased. This puts Measure C revenues over expenditures of $10,000. So just a slight in the black dollar figure for Measure C. For Measure S, there are budgeted revenues of 878,000 for 2021. Again, that's a 5% decrease from 1920, and we did work with HDL. Also included in that $918,000 is the $878,000 is $300,000 in SB1 funds, which it sounds like Brian has also found additional street and road funding with SB1 funds that we may be looking at being able to use this upcoming year. The budgeted operational expenditures are at 700,000, putting Measure S revenues over expenditures of 178,000, projected 178,000. So just again in the black, so that's good. Looking at the water department, revenues are budgeted at 885,000, which is just a slight increase based on average historical water use over the last 5 years. Let's see here, moving to 7. And in scenario number 2, operational expenditures for the water treatment plant are budgeted at 395,000. And operational expenditures for the water distribution are budgeted at 214,000. With total expenditures of 838,000 for 2021, the budget is $37,000 or 4% lower than the 1920 budget of 876. It does leave the water fund revenues over expenditures of 47,000. Looking at the wastewater fund, revenues are budgeted at 1.47 million, which is an increase of 5% from the fiscal year 1920 adopted budget of 1.4 million. The increase is tied to adopted rate increases for January 1 of 2020, and then we do have another rate increase January 1 of 2021. So in scenario number 2, operational expenditures for the wastewater treatment plant are budgeted at 1.15 million. Capital outlays at 100,000. This will not allow, so we did have to put money into the capital budget, primarily in the wastewater fund. We couldn't do too much of a reduction because we are required to, because of the state and the compliance issues we have, we do have to use capital funds to do compliance projects, which I believe we have, I think it's 3 years to complete. So I think we're at year 1. So we do have to have some capital expenditure at the treatment plant based on those earlier compliance issues we were having. So, and then looking at the overall, with total expenditures at 1.65 million for the treatment plant and the collection system, the budgeted, it's 14,000 or 1% lower than the 1920 budget of 1.66 million. This scenario leaves the wastewater fund expenditures over revenues of 183. So overall, in a nutshell summary, the general fund and wastewater fund are, those are negative dollar figures for the end of the year. Again, the sewer fund has the capacity to deal with that negative 183,000. The general fund, we would need to look at using either some of the fund equity, which there's about 700,000 in there right now, or operational reserves. And my suggestion would be that we look at operational reserves, but only at such time that we really need to. Again, like I said, just watching things go through the first 6 months of the year to see how we are tracking as compared to the projected budget. So with that, do you have any questions about the budgets for this upcoming year?
No, I don't.
Okay, then all I need is if there's no questions, all I need is a vote on the resolution then.
Public.
Oh, public comment, yes.
Okay,
We have
so
no, is it open to public or no?
yeah, we're open to
Yeah.
public now.
Yeah, no public comment on this item.
Okay, so then do we have a motion?
Imagine that.
I know, right? People love numbers. I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah,
So-
especially you think, especially right now, people might really want to be, involved in hearing what's going on with but maybe they just realize that right now it is a shot in the dark what we're doing, really is.
So let's have a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2020. Next in order, a resolution of the City Council of Nevada City adopting the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 city budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, Aaron, second. All right, can we have a roll call for?
Councilmember Strasser,
Yes.
Councilmember Parker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Manette,
Yes.
Mayor Senum.
Yes.
All right, all is good.
Okay, and then, thank you so much for doing that. I guess next is, I guess we have managers report.
I think you all know what me and the rest of staff have been up to, and we're trying to keep our projects going the best we can. We're working on the commercial street project as we speak to see how we're going to move forward, because it is taking longer than what the contract amount or what the contract required of the contractor themselves. So we're going to be looking at that this week and how to move forward with that. But we're probably looking at buttoning it up because it is causing some of the businesses on Commercial Street some grief.
So what's the ETA? So I just saw they did pave over what they dug up, right? The piping.
Right. So yeah. So what they've completed at this point in time, Renette, is just the sewer. So we haven't done the storm drain work and the water line work. So when we did an assessment of where the project's at right now, we're 75% through the contract period, and they're only 26% complete on the project itself. So we're gonna talk about that and address that with the contractor.
So what happened? What What was the?
Without going into too much detail, this contractor tends to lag on the projects, and there was some rain days, but I don't think that's it. I think it's I think it might be manpower, and I think the reason this contractor's bids come in lower is because they don't put the necessary staffing to complete the projects in the required timeline that we put in the contracts. So we're going to be addressing this stuff one-on-one with the contractor.
So it sounds like there's a pattern of this, and if so, then that should be looked at in the next project.
Yes, Dwayne, we will be addressing that.
Thank you.
And the only other thing I have to say is I haven't been feeling super good. I have been off the last couple of days, and I'm going to take the remainder of the week off. I'll be available, but I need to get some rest. I think I'm worn out. So you can get me Thursday and Friday if you need to, but I'm going to be at home resting on my couch, trying to get over whatever it is that I've got right now. And it's not COVID, please, people. It's not COVID.
I wasn't worried about that. I'm sorry you're not feeling good. It's been a real it's been
Oh, I did have one more thing, and timely too, that I'm going to try and unplug for a couple days as much as I can. I talked to Allison at the county, and she's trying to do the same thing for at least the next day, because we both agreed we really have not unplugged since this whole thing started. I don't think anybody really has, but having my work computer at home with me every day has turned me into a somewhat of an obsessive compulsive worker, more so than I think I already was. So I'm going to work on that over the next couple of days. But on a happy note, I'm talking with the Grass Valley City Manager Tim Keyser had a really great idea. He's trying to come up with some alternative things that we could do for the 4th of July and still be able to celebrate. And so I'm talking with him and the county. And I wanted to see if there was interest by council to participate in a potential parade, and nobody would come. It would just be the council, and we would probably take some fire trucks, some police cars, and go through, combined with both cities, go through some of the residential areas that of course we'd map out where we can fit our vehicles. And council members could ride in the vehicles, but through some residential areas, so not to, get into the social gathering or promoting any kind of everybody getting together, but just go through residential areas and then come over and go through some residential areas in Grass Valley, just to still recognize the 4th of July. So if there's some interest, I'll let Tim know that.
I like that idea.
Well, especially on, with word coming down last night or, yesterday about the fair being canceled, anything we can do to perk people up, just like we've seen people doing drive-through graduations, drive-through birthdays. I'm up for whatever ideas you guys have that are creative.
All right, then I'll work with them and I'll let you know what we come up with. And I will give all the credit to Tim. This was Tim's idea.
You bet we don't have virtual fireworks.
But it'd be nice is the new council members will also, we could have them.
Yeah, we have to.
It'll be before our first meeting, but it'll be
dress up exceptionally fancy.
Yeah, I think Tim did reach out to the county, so I think we are looking at some options for the celebration overall. So we'll see what comes out of that, and I'll keep you guys in the loop.
Okay, then with that, I guess we need a motion to disband.
So moved.
Oh, you want to do a second, Aaron?
Sure, I don't care. Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. And I'll let you know how we're moving forward with live meetings. And I think Friday will be kind of a telltale on that, because I was looking at the agenda for the Friday conference call, and it did have an item on there about public meetings again. So
I know the state brought it up last week because many communities are doing public meetings without the public. They're going back into their council chambers. So that must, second step now would be letting people back in. So I
Mhm.
know it's under consideration, so that's good to hear.
All right, then, thank you, everyone.
Thank
you.
you. Bye, everyone.